Good evening, everybody, and welcome to round 2 of ASR's Supercars Championship in 2021. We are on the Apple Isle of Tasmania for the annual trip to Symmons Plains Raceway, one of two little bull rings down south from our last location in Adelaide 3 weeks ago. And if you thought that race was chaotic, or that pair of races was chaotic, you might be in for a bit of a surprise tonight. This place has a tendency to produce the unexpected, and a lot of times the unexpected is not a huge amount of accidents or huge amounts of carnage. But with a number of new drivers in the field this year, we are not quite sure where this one is going to go. We'll find out over the course of the two 42-lap races in store tonight. My name is Steve DeVries. Hans Brunswick, who is usually alongside me, is on his way, ladies and gentlemen. He is not too far away, just running a little bit behind the 8-ball with his scheduling tonight. He has messaged me. He said he might be a little bit late, but the man we call the encyclopedia of all things supercars and probably a future Hall of Famer in ASR circles will be in the house with a bit of luck in the next 10 or 15 minutes or so. Plenty to talk about as the night advances, plenty to talk about with everything going on in ASR and with a number of new series about to get underway, mainly GT3 in a week's time as well. That'll be here on this channel. We'll maybe give a little bit of a nod to that over the course of the night, but it's going to be predominantly all things supercars and whether or not the Mustang can strike back. It got a debut podium at Adelaide in the hands of Luke Rosella, but otherwise it was very much the General's men who stole the show and filled the top honours throughout the two races at the very, very famous street circuit 3 weeks ago. We'll have a look at the point standings in just a couple of moments just to see where everything is situated coming into tonight, because it is a little bit of a mixed up order with a number of drivers that were expected to finish well having DNFs against their names and having a little bit of work to do here tonight on the back foot, so to speak. Where they would normally be a bit more pointy end of the standings, they're a bit buried in the list of drivers that did finish both races last time out. Got a good grid of 24 cars at the moment, just finishing their last few laps of practice. I'll be going into a driver's briefing very, very shortly, probably in about 5 minutes time, just to continue to set the stage for what is likely to be a very, very quick pair of races tonight. The lap time, one of only two laps on the or circuits on the calendar where the lap time is sub 60 seconds. And we will very, very quickly find out who is going to be at the top of qualifying for the very first time. At the moment, it is the Kiwis looking like they are showing very, very good pace at the moment. Tim Redmond, Scott Stancliffe been toward the top end of the timesheets throughout the practice session. At the moment we've got at least 7 or 8 cars that are sub 52 seconds, and the word on the wire is a number of drivers will be very, very close tonight in the qualifying sessions. Predictions are that it's going to be the top 15 at least are going to be separated by less than a second, could be even more. We just don't quite know yet. Well, before we go too further into all of this, let's have a look at how the drivers' standings pan out after the first pair of races, or after round 1 rather. So 2 races per night, per round, and this is how the Smith & Sons leaderboard stacks up. So Will Devenish, by virtue of his 1 win and 1 second place finish, takes home nearly maximum points from the Adelaide round, and he is at the top with 288 points, ahead of his teammate Peter Savage, who did a very, very fine job and got a podium on his debut with the new team at Adelaide in the second race. So it was a 2-3 in race 2 for CRE Race Engineering. And Luke Rosella, who had a bit of an unusual run in the second race, went off down the escape road at turn 11, and he did take home a podium finish in the first race of the night, and he flies the flag for Synergy Sim Racing in third. Steve Burko in 4th place. Lachlan Burke, probably the standout rookie in the Supercars Championship so far this season. At the moment, does not look like he's here tonight, but he had a very, very solid opening round to his initial Supercars campaign ahead of Mitch McGovern for All Australian Races, who stepped up from privateer entry last year into the very, very popular AAR team this year. Then come the first and second of the Kiwis in Redmond and Stancliffe, the Kiwi Sim Sports Commodore drivers, Lewis Wedding for Lewis Sim Sport, and Colin Warwick inside the top 10 with 150 points. He was one of the drivers that did have a bit of a miscue in the first race and did not finish, and then he won the second race, so he's on 150 points. Defending champion Kurt Stenberg, he had a podium finish, second place finish in race 1, and didn't finish the second race, so that's why you see him off your points graphic a bit further down the order and with a little bit of work to do, so just on the back foot, but he is at the pointy end of the field again in the practice session like he always tends to be. You can see there on your left hand side there the pole times, or numbers rather, and fastest lap numbers, so they've been split across the first 2 races in round 1, so a pole going to Devenish and to Savage, and then the fastest laps in race 1 and race 2 were split as well. Devenish in race 1 and Kurt Stenberg in race 2. And we did see the qualifying lap record broken in the first round of qualifying last week as well. So I'm not sure if we're going to see it broken here tonight. We're about 3/10 off the qualifying pace just in the practice session that is just starting to wind down at the moment. So it's possible. It'll be very, very interesting to see if it can be broken. Team standings, again, 1 round complete. And CRE, well, by virtue of the fact both their drivers are at the top of the standings, gives you the hint that they were going to be ahead on points, and by quite a substantial margin. You can see there it's somewhere around the 168 point mark. Ahead of Loose Simsport, who again had both their drivers in the top 10 on the standings on your previous graphic, and then Synergy Sim Racing with Scott Nolan just providing a little bit of an anchor support to Luke Rosella for the solid results that he had, and then he sort of picked up the slack when Rosella had an off in the second race. Kiwi Simsport, good solid debut for them with both their drivers firmly entrenched in the top 10 as well. And then a number of drivers who are outside the 10, or have one driver outside the 10 and one driver inside the top 10 in points. You can see they're filling the remainder of the spots. Just the sole Nissan team this year in Kiwi Simsport's development team. That's the NZ Snipes and Peter Thrower combination, both who are here tonight. And a couple of other Kiwis have decided to jump into some Nissans as well for some wildcard appearances. Good to see them getting some good exposure to the main game. Some of them have performed very, very well and very cleanly over in the Super 2 standings. And they had a race here at this time last week. So everything is quite fresh in their minds. And all they've got to do is just get used to that lack of traction control. And a number of them are acquitting themselves quite well in the early going. Some very, very respectful times relative to the more seasoned veterans in the campaign. You can see there the poles and the team wins were split as well. So CRE Race Engineering and Blackshaws with pole. Actually, I need to double check that because I think that might actually be slightly incorrect. And then the team wins, one going each way. So that's definitely correct. So CRE Race Engineering and Blackshaws did split the wins, one race win each last time out. So just a little bit of interesting information for everybody to take a bit of a look at and just to digest before everything gets going tonight. And just for the community's knowledge as well, there has been a very small but key change in the branding. Everybody knows that for the last 3 years, ASR, as it's known today, was known as Automobilista Australia, and there was a lot of change with the rebranding exercise that's gone on over the last couple of months. The last item of those that has been had to be completed was the live timing and historical results. There was a couple of little issues just trying to get that fixed, and we've finally managed to do that. So what you used to go to for amsoz.liveraces.com has now changed to a different name. It is now asrleague.liveraces.com. Still looks the same, still behaves the same. All of the previous results from going all the way back into 2018, when a lot of things were moving and shaking, and a lot of championships were being put together, and when a lot of drivers from all different walks of life were coming along to race as well. All those historical results are still there, so you can have a good look at how things have gone, all the series that have been run over the course of time. You can even find out how many events you've done, what your best laps are, what your best finishing results are. Everything is there and continues to be added. So asrleague.liveraces.com is the address you need to go to. So at the moment, there's just a few drivers that are just finishing up a couple of laps, and it looks like the drivers are going in to have a little bit of a driver's briefing while we still await for Hans Brunswick to come along and pay us a visit. We'll just have a little bit of a look at the... let's see if there's anybody going around at the moment. Everybody's gone and they've stopped practicing for the moment. So what we might do is take a very, very short break, and we'll be back in just a few moments, hopefully with the commencement of qualifying. ASR's Supercars Championship in 2021 is proudly brought to you by Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions. Smith & Sons, design, plan, construct. Cam Rutledge Electrical and Matt Harvey Repair and Tune. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And guess what? The good thing is, Hans Brunswick is now in the building. Good evening, Hans.
Good evening, Stephen. It's good to be here. Good evening, everyone. Hopefully we are keen for a cracking race tonight at Symmons Plains. A couple of races, actually. So that's going to be exciting. And we've managed to beat Supercars to the punch as well. So maybe we're first in and best dressed. So there we go. And I'm just looking at the top 50 best laps right now. Tim Redmond with a 51.526. That is very, very impressive indeed.
Yeah, and that's actually faster than his lap that he did to set the Super 2 qualifying record late last year when they were running the Super 2 Summer Series. His best then was a 51.900. Wasn't too far from being surpassed by Daniel Cox in the recent Super 2 regular series last week. But quite a number of the guys from Super 2 have gone under that record too. Have a look who's actually P2 on the list at the moment. Termo with a 51.637. So that's a mighty impressive time from Termo. A much quicker than I was actually expecting. Much quicker than last week as well. I mean, that's by a country mile.
Yeah, Termo, he is in fine form at the moment, and he's looking to terminate the competition pretty much. So his name is Termo after Terminator, and you are terminated, as Arnie would say, very famously. He's a machine, isn't he, Arnie? Yes. Everything that comes out of this machine's mouth, Arnold Schwarzenegger, is iconic and quotable. So that's pretty amazing in itself. But Termo, I always say it, whenever we focus on Termo, I always have to say it, that he is good in whatever he jumps in. He's not always the fastest, but he is there or thereabouts. Definitely a top 10 runner in most categories, that's for sure. Scott Nolan, provisional third at the moment as well. Will Devenish, a hair's breadth behind, about 3,000th behind. So they're still boxing on there. That'll be interesting if they're on the second row of the grid for qualifying.
All those two have got a little bit of history too from Sandown last year. I think we remarked you didn't want to be sort of caught in a phone box with the pair of them because sometimes they don't like each other, but I think you went so far as to say that it was a little bit more severe than that.
It's not sometimes, it's definitely all the time. and still, can I just say, we still don't want to be caught in a phone box between them, because it will be on for young and old, let me tell you.
Yeah, well, I can actually just see there's a few guys actually just remarking about Termo and that second quickest time in that practice session, setting quite a number of higher laps there. So he's up to about 49 laps, and I can see Rhodey just asking for the number of his sandbag dealer. Because obviously, clearly the sandbags have been had for so long, and now they've just been cut and just tossed aside.
Tomo tends to do that. I don't know, because he does run car number 51, and if we do remember, way back in the days, Greg Murphy, he was a little bit adept at that. You'd see that, sometimes... Well, actually, let's go back to... Because I just listened to the Aaron Noonan V8 Sleuth podcast, actually. So they were talking about the Bathurst winning chassis, the 206-8594. That same chassis was HRT043. So let's get on to story time here. But... when the car debuted in VY form, it was converted from VX car. When it debuted as a VY at Oran Park that season, I think it was round 8 from memory, but you wouldn't have been able to tell that car was going to be a Bathurst winner that year. And not just that, you weren't able to tell either that it was going to set an absolute cracker of a lap time that year. The first ever prime time pole runoff, the top 10 shootout at Bathurst, so a lot more eyeballs on it than usual. That's why the number 206-8954 is indelibly imprinted in the minds of most race fans in this country. So Termo, a bit like Greg Murphy, his favourite driver, number 51, he would sort of be nowhere, and then all of a sudden, bang, he's out there and he's ready to go.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Greg Murphy. I think he tunes in a fair bit from across the ditch as well. Keeps an eye on all sorts of things. Hadn't been able to get across during the COVID-19 pandemic last year to do much of what he normally does for Supercars, but he's very, very tuned in and switched on to what's going on. Of course, the big news coming out of New Zealand overnight was SVG's comments on public radio, because
that's fabulous. Isn't
that
it?
was absolute, and that just goes along with Scotty McLaughlin's Jandal comments from when he had the Volvo as well. So that was all good. We're about to go into qualifying, so we're advancing to the qualifying session, and we will be shooting for pole position for race number 3 of the 20 race campaign. So just waiting on a few little server gremlins to get themselves in order. We'll take a look at the track overview in between qualifying and the race, because most of you know what the situation is. And we can see there we've now got, it's just basically saying there's a countdown timer that's still counting down, even though it's about ready to flick over. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Qualifying for race number 3 of the campaign, hopefully is not too far away from starting. Just got a couple of, it's actually just a small countdown timer, just a pre-countdown timer, getting everybody together and getting all the synchronizing between everybody's games going on, and then we'll be underway. This is going to be a fast and furious qualifying session, Hans. The laps go quickly. There is not a lot of room at the end, so to speak, for errors and to get back out and see things. Oh, there's a little bit of a few shenanigans going on here.
Server lag here, probably server synchronization.
Yeah, so this will be 100% server synchronization. If you have a look on the other camera, just for a bit of fun's sake, there's the Scott Nolan Synergy Sim racing car just doing AMS things in the middle of what's that look like? That's the grain sprayer or the crop sprayer, I think, that's over at the back of the circuit.
Oh, I'm glad it was one of those. I thought it was the sewage pipe, but who knows? They all look the same after a while.
Yeah, they do. And there's a couple of cars just hanging about, trying to, as the timer sort of counts down, We tend to see this a little bit.
If you look closely at Tim Redmond's car right now, you see the wheels spinning, and that's what we call going nowhere fast.
Always quick to crack a joke, and you're on song immediately. You've only been in the building for 3 minutes, and you're already right on song, so this is fantastic.
And that's all out for tonight. That's it. Not coming back anymore. See you later, everyone.
Yep, that's it.
Thanks for joining us in the house, Hans Brunswick.
Yeah. Right, here we go.
Now we're off and running again. Oh, there's a bit of,
and there's a bit of
shenanigans.
And here we go. Yeah, there's a little bit going on.
I just noticed as well that Lewis Wedding was the first car out, so he is always.
That's actually
strategic things. He usually is the last one to go out.
That was actually quite a surprise that he was the first one out. So I don't know. He was at the head of the queue. And the queue is actually quite massive. We're actually trying to cycle to pick up where Lewis Wedding is.
24 cars.
Actually, there he is there. So there is Lewis Wedding. And actually, I think Scott Nolan is actually...
Scott Nolan's just passed him as well. So I'm looking at Scott Nolan on this screen here. The Symmons Sons ASR
Actually,
Mustang,
Kurt Stenberg is the one
Stenny's got ahead of him as well.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of shuffling in the order here. So Kurt Stenberg's going to be the one that actually throws the gauntlet down. And this man's actually got a little bit of work to do. Because he lies outside the top 10 in the championship. Defending his championship from last year, and had a bit of a shocker in race 2 at Adelaide. Didn't finish, and finished second to Will Devenish in race 1. So didn't make it onto the points top 10 points graphic earlier tonight. And there's already a bit of carnage, and that's Scott Nolan in the fence.
Yeah, so he's done the old Jamie Wynn Cup 2006. Yeah, Kurt Stenberg, number 1 traditionally hasn't been a very good number for him actually, and he is the first to admit that as well, so hopefully he can break that curse, or not, we don't know. Maybe some of the other drivers are thinking not. Kurt is hopefully thinking yes, because he is a very good operator, and he does put in very good performances, and very unlike him to see what happened at Adelaide in race 2, very, very uncharacteristic of Stenberg.
We've actually missed the boat because Pete Savage is actually the first man to cross the line, so there's been a bit of more reshuffling, but Stenberg immediately usurps Pete Savage's time at the top by 1.5 tenths and goes top with a 51.2, so already down to the pointy end of business.
Oh, Tim Redmond's lap, his first lap just got ruined by Audrey Mishra there, who spun at the second to last corner, so I think that deserves a replay.
Yep, certainly does. Let's have a look at that one on Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions replay, and let's get a bit of a look at what happened to Tim Redmond. So there's Audrey Mishra just ahead on the track, and it was just coming up to, I guess, the pointy end of the lap. Oh, right there.
He locks the rears, the car noses in, and unfortunately just reaches Tim Redmond at the wrong time. So that pretty much ruins his first flying lap, but puts him down in 14th, so still not last. That's pretty good.
Yeah, well, at least it's a banker lap. It's something that's on the board, and that certainly wouldn't have been intentional from Mishra. He missed the first round. He's actually in the process of moving house. Moving countries. So he's found a bit of time to jump in the seat, and this is his first proper hit out since he signed up for Supercars. And let's actually pick him up and let's see where he is. So here he goes. There's a bit of How's Your Father going on the outside of turn 1 there. That's Nathan Higginson. And Mishra's actually just come out of the pits having been involved in that little incident.
Oh, Higginson just rejoined in front of Lime Mitch, and Lime Mitch has had a massive tank slapper and gone into the fence. So, again, the close fences on the, I wouldn't say main straight, but the old main straight, what used to be the start-finish straight. It is very, you do get out of line there, it's very hard to catch it, and you do end up wiping the wall at some point.
Well,
Tim Redmond, meanwhile, is...
Mishra's done the same thing again there. You can just...
He's struggling down at that corner.
Yeah, just struggling to get the braking right for that corner. And coming back to the man, he was involved in that little tangle with Tim Redmond. And where is Tim? He's actually caught behind Nolan.
3 tenths up, and he's continued that. So that puts him up into 4th. And the top 5 cars are pretty much 1/4 second away from Kurt Stenberg's opening salvo.
Very quietly, Luke Rosell has moved himself into P2 as well with a 51.673. So he's no slouch behind the wheel either. And again, flying that Synergy Sim Racing flag like he did in the opening qualifying and opening race at Adelaide as well. It all went wrong for him in the second race, but he's flying the flag as best he can at the moment. Still 1.5 the gap, and plenty of time to boot. Redmond's not going to sort of make much of an impression on this lap.
Again, Mishra makes a mistake at the second to last corner.
Yeah, and
he is just struggling so much. It's almost better to break earlier into that.
And there's a few drivers that are being caught out by that as well. I think I've seen Brent Foley have a moment down there as well. I just saw Justin Cecil, who's one of the wild cards, having a bit of an issue as well. And let's keep an eye on Tim Redmond and just see what his Sector 1 split is. Tucked into the draft behind Rosella's 55 at the moment, so that's about the distance you sort of want to be.
Flag zone.
Yep.
Flag, he's just a hair.
Yeah, who's gone off the road there?
He's taking a very narrow line through there, so Tim, he's very good with his setups, Tim Redmond, so he definitely knows, he's definitely calculated that.
It's all about the drive.
Yeah, it's all about the drive as well, and he usually has a pretty good setup, and he's just lost a little bit of time there, so that looks like about a tenth of a second he's lost. So
yeah, it's gone from being maybe slightly up to about 3/4 of a tenth behind. He won't be probably too phased with that. He's still got a chance to get back in and bolt on another set of tyres, and he lost a lot of time in that little stanza as well in the third sector, probably with all the traffic that's running around at the moment. So here's a man that we didn't really see very much of at the Adelaide round, and I think even by his own admission, he had a dead set shocker in Brenton Foley. But this is his opportunity to strike back. He wasn't very confident going into the qualifying sessions, focusing more on the race runs, but a 51.833 is a very respectful time. It's still 0.6 of a second off the ultimate pole time from last year. But I mean, where he is positioned right now, I think he'll be very happy with if it stays that way.
I just noticed up behind Foley at the moment is Pete Savage, and he's original second at the moment, and he's just slightly less than a tenth up on his personal best, still 2.7 tenths away from Stenberg's lap time.
Foley.
So Stenny's lap time is actually improved, so he's done it 51.251, so very good lap time there.
Foley's advanced a spot, so that's a very slight gain for him, and Tim Redmond is the next man in the firing line for Foley. Pete Savage actually did a PB as well, and actually moves to what's now better part of 2.5 tenths behind Kurt Stenberg, who has continued.
He's up again.
Yeah, and
so I think it's the braking zone. That's where the split comes in. So if you actually, it's almost better to brake earlier and try and get a late apex. But being the straight that is shorter, you might want to lengthen the straight that is longer. And he's just gone to, he's just escaped the pits. So that shows how good that lap was, I guess. So he wasn't happy with that, or maybe he was about to run out of fuel.
Current provisional pole setter Kurt Stenberg. He's within a fraction of his lap time pole record from last year, which is 51.216, and he's on a 51.251 at the moment. So just a very small improvement, and he'll be right there. But this is ultimately the pace that we saw last year. So it's straight out of the box. The TTR Commodore, which was number 47 last year, number 1 this year, Hans, is fast.
Yeah, defending champion. He's looking to get a good result for the number 1 car. Put it on position number 1 to send an emphatic statement that he is not going down in this title fight without going down swinging. So early season yet, so Stenny has a lot of time to turn it around. If anyone can do it, I reckon it's him, because he did have some pretty average performances last year by his own admission, but he did manage to save himself, and he would get himself out of that pole continuously. So every time he would lose points to his main competitors, he would gain those points back with a really dominant showing. So it just shows that he's able to channel that energy in the right way, Steve.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And by his own admission too, he was a fan of the longer distance races. So Adelaide last year, which he dominated, was the 250k race. I think 3 out of the 5 longer distance races he won, and he placed very, very well in the other 2. And the format for this year, going to the dual sprint format, adds a bit of a different dynamic compared to what it was last year. So I'm not sure whether that's just sort of unsettling the rhythm a little bit, having to get used to a different type of strategy call, whether it's almost on the cusp this year with the 100k distances of whether you stop on the half distance mark, or you're tempted to try and get to the half distance mark, or whether you're sort of tempted to try the harder tyre at some point as well as the soft tyre. And nice slide there through turn 2, but is that a little bit too leery on the loud pedal, and will it cost him at Sector 1 split? It does, to the tune of just over a tenth.
It's really weird actually, because some of the laps that actually look really quick they're not really leery at all. They're not really on that raggedy edge. But sometimes with these cars, you actually do, if you do hustle them, you actually get a lot of pace out of them. So you can't make sure that you got to make sure that the slides are not too much that you're losing time like that. That's not ideal.
Yep.
Not ideal at all.
And it's going to be this last lap too, and he's going to abort it. So that's not a surprise that he aborts that lap, because the clock has now gone 0. So Pete Savage is the first man, and it's going to be really of interest across the line to see if he can make an improvement.
Does he improve?
He
No.
improves
He
his time.
improves slightly, but he doesn't improve in position.
No, it does not improve in position. So that's...
Actually, he got gazumped by his teammate there, Will Devenish. So.
Higginson made an improvement to P14, so that's a positive for the HME Team Autodesk driver. Brenton Foley is on a lap, so he's now been demoted back down to 6th place.
So 2/10 off to the first sector, and he's just a hair up on his personal best at the moment. So Foley, he's having a real go here. Final roll of the dice for PBF Red Bull Holden Racing Team.
He's lost that time, so that's on a big lock-up as well. So this is not going to advance him past Luke Rosella, and I think he's going to stay
definitely
5th.
not now with that slide there. So that happened at the critical moment, and just lost a slight bit of time there. So
Yep.
not going to happen
No.
for Foley today.
And that is the end of qualifying as well. And the last man on the circuit is actually Nathan Higginson, who's just pulling into the pits. So that is all she wrote for qualifying. And as we go to pole sitter, so first pole of the season for Kurt Stenberg, just outside his pole time from last year. So there he is. Second place man, very quietly into second place, Will Devenish, not too far down the road from him. And then his teammate, third place for Peter Savage. A couple of good standouts in that session though, Hans. Looking at Tim Redmond's 51.666 or 665. I was about to say 666. I don't know why I did that. But that's...
Sounds like a song.
It does, doesn't it? Yes, there's actually one by Corey Taylor, Highway 666, when the devil ran me down. But anyway, the devil's in the detail there for Tim Redmond with backing up his performance in qualifying from practice. So he's done very, very well there. And where's his teammate? He's actually his teammates inside the top 10 as well. Scott Stancliffe at 51.9, which is sort of the pace that the Super 2 guys in Summer Series were running last year. So there's some standouts in that field, and the early prediction I made based on Will Devenish's assessment was that top 15 were going to be within a second of each other, and that's precisely what it is. The last man inside that 15 is Lime Mitch, 0.964 off the top time.
Oh, he's just in it, isn't he? Good to see Lime Mitch back and racing, and been a while since we've seen him regularly in a series in ASR, so good to see him back. And plenty of cars in the field tonight, 22 cars. There was 24 in the practice session. Not sure where those two disappeared to, but that's all right.
Looking to see, it looks like it's Burko and Peter Thrower that have just quickly dropped out of the server, but they'll be able to get back in this warm-up session. Their times will be unaffected by that. I actually think Burko and Thrower are likely to be inside that top 15 as... and they'll probably just push those guys down. So I think it'll probably be a top 16 or 17 cars that are inside the 1 second of each other. So going to be a very, very hot and contested affair for 42 laps. Seems like a long distance, Hans, but we'll debate that now. Let's have a look at the track overview for round 2. And here we go, zooming in on the Apple Isle of Tasmania to Launceston in the north, and then out to the southeast rather, past the airport. We find one of 2 bull rings on this little Tasmanian isle. It's 2.4 or 2.411 kilometres long. It only has 7 corners, and as you said, Hans, the 42 lap distance is going to go bloody fast.
Absolutely, and it's around about 80 something kilometres, so that is quite interesting in the sense that you have that many laps, and the work rate is so high around here, being a bull ring style of circuit. There's a lot of gear shifting, and the thing is, it's almost like there's just one big straight, and then a couple of corners in between, flip flops and that sort of stuff, and then you've got another, massive long straight just after the start-finish straight after turn 1 and 2. So straight line speed is very important here, but more so the acceleration that you're able to get. So if you get a poor run out of any of those hairpin corners, you are definitely not going to have a very good day here. And the tyres do cop a bit of a punishment around here, especially the right rear, the hardest working tyre as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. In those two corners you mentioned, turn 1, which is just that little part at the bottom sector there in red, just where the pit lane feeds in. That's a very, very high traction zone. And then, of course, the hairpin, the most obvious part of the circuit, slowest corner on the circuit. Multi-line corner as well. We need to keep that in mind. It is a banked hairpin, so there are options there for drivers to take the wide line, cut right across the face of the apex at the traditional spot, as you can see from the graphic going around up the top there with the ASR Ford Mustang, the traditional line right there, sort of going as close as you want to the apex, staying on that inside line. You can also run it a little bit deep at the hairpin, cut it back for a late apex, try and maximise your straight line speed through the long sweeping right-hander of turn 5. But there's a couple of different, and you can run side by side through there as well, and there's a prime passing zone. So that's pretty much, I think, the action spot on this little track that we all need to keep an eye out for. And of course, if you get your braking wrong, there's a big ugly gravel trap waiting for you at the other end. And
it probably won't let you out that easily anytime soon. So you don't want to end up in that gravel trap, but also you do want to, get the big cojones out, and you want to definitely have a big go under brakes there. But also another thing that I noted was that a lot of traction zones require turning as well. So you need to have a well-balanced car that when you're bringing on the throttle gently, you need to be able to steer the car, and as you wind the lock off, the car needs to be responsive in a good way to the driver in order to get some speed out of the car.
Just a warm-up session going on at the minute, and so there's a few drivers just trying to find a little bit of a spot just to get a practice start completed, and most of them are doing this on the back straight. So there's Redmond was doing one. I thought I saw one of the Kiwi development team Nissan cars trying to do the same thing as well, and it's probably a safe spot to do it at the moment. I see a number of drivers trying to complete their not only their practice starts but also their pit in and pit exit. So that's going to be very important. Now, the big strategy call that a lot of people are going to be, I guess, worried about with this one, Hans, is how they split the pits, because a number of drivers have already complained that the tyres start to go around lap 19, and you want to sort of be getting to lap 21. It's a 42 lap race. That means you split it down the middle, and if you go too long, you're going to end up with a flat tyre because of that right rear sort of doing a lot of the work. And if you go too early, you're not going to have enough tyre at the back end of the race unless you switch to the hards.
Yeah, so it's going to bring a bit of a tyre battle into this, because what does one do in this situation? You could go hard at the start, you could go on the hard tyre and then move to the soft tyre and just blaze away until your heart's content. Or you can do that at the start of the race, hope that there's no safety car, which is pretty unlikely around here. There is a high likelihood of a safety car happening, especially with the close walls into turn 4 on the hairpin. But I think what you might want to do is go for the hard tyre at the start, hope that you're somewhere in it by the end, make your pit stop before the safety car potentially if it comes late, and then once you're off and running, just absolutely throw everything at your competitors and make sure you can get past them. Because I think, personally, I would go the soft tyre at the end, but if you're able to manage your tyres correctly, there's no reason why you can't go a soft tyre strategy.
No, and even the Super 2 drivers a week ago were commenting that they could make the soft tyre last, but they did have to watch their pace towards the end of the stint. I think Dane Liccardo, who picked up 2 of the race wins on the night, who was sadly not here this weekend. He's actually, unfortunately, had a bit of an issue, and so has served a penalty from the previous race. He won 2 of the 3 races that night, the third going to Daniel Cox, the debut win.
Very solid job, actually, by all of them, but especially Dane. He did a very good job to win 2 races.
Definitely was a very solid job, and he made that tyre work, but he did have to, even the guys that were helping him, Steve Burko, Peter Savage, they definitely had to tell him to back his pace off toward the end of it just to preserve enough, just to make sure that he got home. So just a couple of drivers we are waiting on just to finish some laps. So one of the wildcard drivers in Freakish. Good to see the Kiwi contingent stepping up, taking up the offers that were available for wildcarding. Cheese is in there again, who had a solid run at Adelaide 3 weeks ago, and teammate in the Kelly sort of camp in Freakish tonight. And Justin Cecil and Brian Walsh is out there as well. The native Tasmanian returns.
That is fantastic, isn't it? We affectionately call this place Brian Walsh Plains as well. But yeah, no, it's great to see Walshy out there. His favourite track, Symmons Plains. It's actually really funny because a lot of the Australian tracks he doesn't seem to like very much. So bit confusing there, but oh well. Walshy, we've named this track after you, mate, so you better take it, because that's all you're going to get.
You certainly better take it. There's a little bit of just movement in the pit paddock here. We've got a few drivers that are just sort of starting to make their way onto the grid. So Pete Savage is getting himself in order. 42 laps. For the drivers, this will seem like an eternity, but you've got to remember too, Hans, this is a 100-kilometre race. Last year, the race distances were 90 kilometres, so it's only a 10-kilometre increase, but for Symmons Plains, that actually means it's 5 extra laps compared to last year.
And that means a whole lot of gear changes and all that sort of stuff as well. So, although it's quite a short track, there's a lot of things that can go wrong here. And I think more so than any other circuit, because it's a short track, it's very narrow, and it's high speed as well. So, yeah, let's see what's going on here tonight, because it is definitely going to be an action track.
All right, looks like everybody's on the grid ready to go. So formation lap about to commence, and here we go. And Hans Brunswick is going to run us through this order.
Kurt Stenberg on pole with 51.251, just a hair off his pole time last season. Will Devenish in second. Teammate Pete Savage in third, Tim Redmond in fourth, stellar time. He was able to continue his pace from practice. Luke Rosella in fifth, how great. Brett Foley in 074 Redmond car, he is in sixth. Steve Burko in seventh, ahead of his team boss, Lewis Wedding in eighth. Scott Nolan, the other SSR car, in ninth. Scott Stankin makes it into the top 10. NZ Snipes not far off the senior team, he's in 11th. Roger Mishra on his return after the moving shenanigans that has all been going on lately, so he's managed to rock up and he's put it in a good position as well, 12, so well done. Brendan Ross down in 13th, Tomo down in 14th, unfortunately couldn't continue his form from practice. Nathan Higginson in 15th, Mitch McGovern, Lime Mitch in car number 13 in 16th, Freakish doing a solid job in 17th, Steve Warwick in 18th, Peter Thrower makes his return to this car, the number 56 development team Kiwi Sim Sports car in 19th. Cheese in the Kelly Racing guest car in 20th. Cam Rutledge in 21st. Justin Cecil in 22nd. Brody in 23rd from Brody's Photos Racing. And Ryan Walsh in the Team 18 guest car. Car number 20, the D-Walt Commodore in 24th. Final car on the grid.
Tell you what, Brian Walsh actually said to me before the race tonight that he's almost like he's gone to the dark side, because he's primarily driven a Ford most of his life in ASR Supercars and Super 2 series, and he feels a little bit dirty that he's gone to this car. But it's a car that actually looks the part, Hans. I think that's probably the most important thing, isn't it? I actually don't mind the livery on that car.
No, it is a good livery. The DeWalt ones always seem to look pretty good. Black and yellow seems to work quite well.
Alright, so now the bit we need to be sort of keeping interested in is the lights, and it looks like it's a pretty decent form up, and lights are on, and we are set for 42 laps at Symmons Plains. Away we go, and what a fantastic jump from the pole sitter. He left Will Devenish for dead, who's had a real sluggish start. Redmond, what a great start from Tim Redmond, up 2 spots already.
Should have seen Lewis Wedding, he was sideways and he just went backwards off the line, so terrible start for Wedding.
There goes the race leader, and he is bolting. He's gone. Tim Redmond ahead of Will Devenish. Savage lost out in that little skirmish as well. Foley and Rosella now side by side a bit further back in the pack, and Rosella looking for the inside at the hairpin, and he's got it. And look at this, Scott Stancliffe's had a pretty reasonable start too. He's already up 2 spots, actually 3 spots.
Boxing on here. It's on for young and old. It's going to be down here at the second last corner, and no, he just pulls back in, so he's thought better of that.
Yeah, got to play the long game very, very early to try and go for a banzai move at turn 6 this early in the race. We would have had a fistful of probably opposite lock if you ended up to pull that up, and also probably a rear view mirror full of Scott Stancliffe's Commodore as well. And there's a car around at the back.
That's Higo. That's Nathan Higginson.
It is indeed Higginson, and we're just looking to see if we can pick him up. He is recovering. There he is. And he had a bit of a wild moment, worthy of a Smith & Sons replay this early on in the piece. And looks like he's had a bit of a moment just off of the final corner now. There's been a bit of an issue here, bit of inside curb, and got a slapper on. And did he keep it out of the wall? No, he didn't. He just tagged the inside wall, but then he got it pointing the right direction.
I just noticed that not long after that freakish, actually had a half lose as well. So he managed to go onto the motorcycle circuit, and funnily enough, Freakish and Higo are racing right now. Actually, Higo's got a problem, so
yeah, he's got a flat. I reckon he's got damage, or he's got a flat tyre, and it'll be a flat front left. We're just waiting to see if it locks up here. Yeah, there it goes. You can see it straight away. That car is going straight to a flat spot on the front left tyre. So this will be an unscheduled stop for car 00. And he's already at the back of the field, and he's going to go a lap down. Now, this is the one thing, Hans, that we probably didn't talk a lot about in the pre-race, is if you need to stop here, there is a very high probability, almost probably a 90% probability, you're going a lap down.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to be able to keep with the leaders, and there is a critical point where if you do get behind the leader, I think it's about 3 seconds or 5 seconds or something like that. If you're that far behind from the leader, you're definitely gonna go a lap down. So that's his race over and out. He's probably going to be a lap down for the rest of the race.
Yeah, he's actually just trying to exit the pits now. There he is, just in the lane back a shot. So he's going to almost go a lap down to about 3/4 of the field. Meanwhile, the fast-starting Tim Redmond has got a CRE train behind him with 2 cars that are just itching to get those positions back. Now, they need to make hay very, very quickly here. Because Redmond, he's just made a mistake there, and Will followed him, and then Pete Savage sort of...
Right there. So that sort of realises itself. That's good for Redmond, not good for the other guys.
Yeah, so it was a reprieve for Redmond, but not really for anybody else. That was the big issue. And then...
He's got the eyes on here, so he's definitely going to make a move. Is he
thinking about it? Not quite.
Thinking about it? No, definitely, but not quite.
He's worried, tried to worry him out of the position there, and I think Redmond did get a little bit worried because now there's a little bit of overlap.
This isn't good because they're just losing time here. If Will can't make the pass, they are just losing time to Stenberg. So he can't make the pass, he's just losing time.
Yeah, got to get traction out of this corner here. This is the problem for Will Devenish. He has to get traction out of 1 if he's going to have any shot down at 4. And Bretton Foley is hanging on to the coattails of Rosella here, so don't count him out of this battle. If it starts to get a little bit, elbows out, then here. And now here's a move behind them for teammate as well. So Savage has had enough. He's like, you know what? You've had a chance for a couple of laps now to pass Tim Redmond. I want to go.
Yeah, he's going to have a massive go there. But also, I was going to remark that when they all ran wide at turn 4, that track position is at a premium at this circuit. But also the fact that if you do find yourself up behind a slow car, it's not exactly good news for you because you're just going to be losing buckloads of time to the leader, and that's going to increase your chance of going a lap down. On board with Pete Savage now.
Yep, on board with Savage. You can see that Stenberg is just starting to edge away here. He's now out to 2.2 seconds after only 5 laps, so banging in the laps.
A bit wide. Yeah. The car understeered, and it looked pretty terrible through the
Yep, so that is the shot from the very, very famous Armco cam. Looking at all the gaps going by, just still starting to spread out there. There's Turmo tucked under the rear wing of Lime Mitch for a little bit, and then there's the other CRE cars at the back, so it's all sort of very well strung out. Freakish going through ahead of Steve Warwick, and then Higginson and Rhodey a bit further back. Go back to this battle now. Savage hasn't been able to affect the pass, and he's signalling his intent pretty early here, and look at the closing rate. There's maybe a little bit of rat-a-tat-tat on the rear bumper there of Redmond, and he's going to lose a pair here.
Try and redress. Did he try and redress there? He just slowed
up
in the corner.
I don't think he did. I don't think he did, and I'm sort of we don't know. We had a bit of a weird sort of angle at that one. We couldn't really see if it was a nudge. And Savage did come in a little bit on the hot side, but at the end of the day, CRE cars are now through, and we're going to have a bit of a look. I think Hans is having a bit of a look on the replay here just to see if there was. there's a possibility, maybe a bit of minor contact, but we'll have to have a bit of a look at that. But what is happening is boxing on back here. So Redmond now wants third place back off of Will Devenish, and these two are going to run door handle to door handle up to 6.
And Devenish has got the move done. So Tim Redmond back to his starting spot in 4th, and he's very vulnerable to Luke Rosello, who's trying to go around the outside. He's going to make it.
What a move around the outside, but Redmond gives him no space. Well, actually gives him just enough space and not an inch more, and it's going to keep him on the outside. But Rosello prevails. What a ballsy move to make around the outside. Buffalo Bills go around the outside at turns 6 and 7.
That was a very impromptu move there. So good move there, Luke Rosella, and Foley's going to have a go as well now. So he's going to go around the outside of turn 4, not quite.
Cut back, no, not quite.
A bit wide. He tried to make a late apex and try and lengthen the straight almost, so try and get on the throttle early.
And here's the rear shot from Luke Rosella's Mustang, just looking at this battle unfolding behind. So Foley just starting to try and size up Redmond for another spot down here at turn 6. Redmond just moved it across a little bit and then darted back to the racing line just to, discourage Foley from having another go. And I don't think Foley was close enough anyway. And then behind them, the sister car of Scott Stancliffe has now been passed by Scott Nolan, and I think is now in the battle pack with Lewis Wedding also having a bit of a go as well.
It's a massive battle here.
And Burko too.
Yeah, so 2 loose SimSport cars, a Kiwi SimSport car and a Synergy Sim Racing car. Oh, did Stancliffe get the fence there?
Yep, he got the fence. He definitely got the fence, and it was not by a hair's width. There was maybe a little bit of overlap on that fence panel, and I think he probably dragged it a little bit. And he is not going down without a fight. I mean, he's had a good start. He's moved up 2 spots up to P8, and through the pit stop sequences that are, sort of probably about 10 or 15 minutes away, he'd be looking to hold that spot. But surprisingly, the man that I'm most interested in, Hans, just go back 1 spot for me, is this man, Lewis Wedding, because he started 8th and finished 9th, and at the moment is 9th, but he was very, very vocal to me before this race started. He just felt that he just wasn't quite all there. He just couldn't work out on driving the car, but he's actually ahead of the teammate. And Nolan...
He's just coughed up that position to Stancliffe, and he might cough up another position to Lewis Wedding here.
And Lewis Wedding's got the box seat as well to look at this move. And look, there's already damage on the side door from Scott Nolan, and there's bump drafting going on. And now on the run to...
Oh, Nolan's off the rears, and he's just gone into the back.
Oh! And Burko...
Looks like a Formula car. It just jumped up into the air.
And Burko, ever present, just tried to see if he could sneak a sneaky look at getting a pass done there, but it wasn't on. And now they've all just gone back to as you were, boys.
Oh well, play on.
Play on,
boys.
All's fair in love and war. Play on.
I think we should get a replay of that from on board Steve Burko when he starts looking up at the sky.
We'll have to start having a look at that in the not too distant future. Now back to the battle we were looking at before with the Tim Redmond and Brenton Foley battle, and this has now officially changed hands. So Foley has got this move done, and Rosella is next in the firing line. Now he's dropped off the back of this CRE pair as well. So Savage still ahead of Devenish, and then Kurt Stenberg now 3.9 seconds clear at the front. But this train of cars will start to get interesting. If I was Tim Redmond, I'd probably just sit here and just wait and just see what the pace is like, and then maybe just plan the strategy move. I think 6th place at the moment, definitely a good solid position to be in, and just to try and tail a few of these faster cars. Now Rosella's just gone for a late apex at turn 6, Foley the traditional line, and Redmond pretty much right in his wheel tracks. Looking at the times on the board at the moment, the last few times for these guys, so Foley at a 52.6, and then all of them in a 52.6, so pretty much matching each other almost step to step. And they are, look at the time difference. Actually, they were, 0.2 and 0.4 of a second slower than the guys ahead of them. They're actually the same pace as Kurt Stenberg. Send from Redmond, and move done. Committed and passed. So a little bit of door handle banging, but all above board and all legal. I was just about to say the lap times that these guys turned in the last lap was the same as the race leader, Kurt Stenberg. And then even the 2 guys in 2nd and 3rd, the CRE cars, Savage and Devenish, were quicker than Stenberg as well.
Roselli's off the road. He's just locked up. Did he go off the road?
Nope.
No, he didn't. He
No, he
stayed
didn't.
on the road, but he did lose a bit of time because the car steered.
His
well
teammates
wide.
just had a bit of a door handle moment with Scott Stancliffe at turn 6.
So both SSR cars in the wars and both Kiwi Sim Sports cars in the wars.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a replay going to be coming here. Just have a look at this one from Scott Nolan on the Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions replay for the Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions number 18. And here is that move. So Stancliffe was already ahead and committed to the defensive line. And Nolan tried to go around the outside. There's a little bit of a bang and...
Like clipped wheels there.
Yeah, maybe just very briefly clipped wheels. And at the end of the day, he just lost a bit of ground to Scott Stancliffe, so it wasn't a huge problem in the end, although he's going to try and size this move up again, I reckon.
Here we go again.
Round
Here we
2,
go again,
ding,
boys.
ding, ding.
Ding, ding. And he thinks better of it, so...
Oh, big wiggle from the
Stancliffe.
718.
Stancliffe, just at the critical moment, it just escaped from his hands when he tried to turn it in the left-hander.
Plenty of action up and down the field, no matter where you look at it. So this is, I mean, this is the real, I wouldn't say it's the ugly battle pack. This is the one that's probably the most entertaining at the moment. Plenty of guys just, not willing to give an inch. Even the battle behind there, you can see that is the NZ Snipes and Ujit Mishra battle over 11th and 12th. Now NZ Snipes will be looking for a top 10 finish. There's a mistake from Stancliffe. Nolan capitalises, and the other two Mustangs just couldn't quite go with him. So Nolan through, and he will need to try and make a break for this now. And now this battle pack has just sort of started to string out.
I think it was a matter of last little late breakers there because Stancliffe went wide and Lewis Wedding followed him.
We've just got first the proper pit stop calls, and it's by unfortunate incident. That's Cam Rutledge, and he's missing a bonnet, so he's been into a fence somewhere, and he's going to go a lap down. So now going to be a 2-stop race for Cam Rutledge, so that's a little bit disappointing for car 015. Got knocked about from pillar to post in the last race at Adelaide. Didn't probably have the best of races, to be honest with you, and I think he'll probably say the same thing. And he's going to come out a lap down, and he'll be the second last car on the circuit. There's already a number of cars have already gone a lap down.
Yeah, those cars are Steve Warwick, Brian Walsh, Cam Rutledge and Nathan Higginson, who's 2 laps down. And
Higginson, I think, has maybe had a game issue, because I can see he's actually off at one of the corners. I don't know which one it is. It might be turn 6 or 7, but he has completely come to a stop, and I think it'll be the end of his race. Now, unsighted, Will Devenish has actually managed to make a pass on his teammate, and he's now managed to clear away. So now we start to get a real understanding of where the lap pace is at between cars 15 and 1. First sector, almost nothing in it. 18.177 to Stenberg plays 18.163 to Will Devenish. We get the second sector split now. 17.911 to Stenberg, 17.951 to Devenish. So pretty much again level pegging. Start finish line. Total lap time for Stenberg 52.150. Will Devenish 52.235. So lost a 10th in the last sector. So I think a lot of that might be starting to become traffic induced as the traffic starts to play out here. Justin Cecil lap traffic. Job well done. Just moves over, lets the faster car through. He's going to have to do that a couple more times in the next few minutes.
I think that the current gap between, so it's about 5 seconds between Will and Kurt. I think the majority of that time, if not all of it, actually was lost in the early part of the race when they found themselves behind Tim Redmond. Now, Tim was doing a very good job. He was driving as fast as he possibly could. That wasn't good for the guys behind him because they were obviously quicker, and because of their poor start, they ended up finding themselves behind a car that probably didn't have the outright pace that they did. And unfortunately, they didn't have the outright pace either to get past him quickly. So it's just about stabilising. It's 5.55 seconds between Stenberg and Devenish.
And this battle's continuing to rage on as well. Stancliffe and Scott Nolan running door handle to door handle for a couple of corners there. Nolan prevails. So this is a highly entertaining battle. I think Lewis Wedding might buy into this one down here at turn 4 on Scott Stancliffe. We'll just keep an eye on this one in the background. We might even switch to Lewis Wedding just to see what his view of proceedings are. But at the moment, he decides to stay where he is. Now this is where he was telling me that he was losing out. You could see there the car just wiggled, big time wiggle, under acceleration out of turn 4. And all this gap is gone now. All the margin that he made up onto the back of Stancliffe's car is just evaporated. And they've got such a huge advantage under braking. Nolan's deep. Nolan's off the circuit. And he's going to drop a couple of spots here as well.
He's going to take to the pit lane as well. So good time to do it, I guess. But lap 18, he's going to make those tyres last.
He's going to have to go the hards. He's going to have to go the hard tyre. He won't make the soft tyre last from here. And this is the worry. So some of these guys that have come in and pit early are going to have they want to make a one-stop and try and have any hope of clawing anything back. They have to make a hard tyre work. And the lock-up from Lewis Wedding now as he tries to close back in on Scott Stancliffe. So the only people we've seen take to the pit lane so far, Nathan Higginson, by virtue of having flat tyre, who is now officially out of this race. Cam Rutledge with the damage to the bonnet, and Scott Nolan, who was force majeure. He was off the circuit and decided the pit lane was his safe haven, and in he went.
I mean, it's a good time to do it if you're going to make a mistake. Oh, the rejoin there. Justin Cecil had a bit of trouble.
Yeah, there was a little bit of trouble just then. So Nolan came out of the pits, and there was the Penrite car, number 26. They've been doing a pretty fine job up until that point. So we'll just have a look at that on the Smith & Sons replay, because it was a little bit awkward, and it's been a topic that was covered in the drivers' briefings throughout the night. So Nolan out of the pits, all fine. It actually looked like there wasn't any traffic there when he came in, but late on the scene, and it was just a mistake. That's all it was. It was just
he ran wide, and Nolan was there. So ordinarily that wouldn't be a problem, but when there's a car exiting the pit lane, it is a problem. So
yeah, correct.
Pretty bad luck for both of them there.
Yeah, so just a little mistake. I think Justin Cecil, it's his first series, first main series drive, and the rules, he knew what the rules were. He was trying to do it. He just couldn't hold that line a bit close to the apex and accommodate the car, but thankfully it was just an innocuous little hit, and it wasn't too severe.
Meanwhile, Mr. Fox on number 7.
Yep, go back to this battle.
I was about to say Burko was really smart to just drop back off the 3-car battle that was happening, because they're all going to have each other off at the moment, but Burko's now caught back up.
And Wedding has actually gotten through on this battle as well, and he's taking the high line. I think that's just his approach at the moment, just a bit sort of cautious, not wanting to unsettle the car going through the low line, and he has managed to slip ahead into 6th place. He'll be happy with this, but he does know that he's got a number of drivers that are in the pit lane, and a couple of them of the callers, NZ Snipes, it was Freakish was in the pits, and I think maybe actually Snipes was in the pit lane, and he is now out of the pits now. Nolan had stopped. Rosella has also stopped, and these guys are buried. Now, Rosella has come out, and he was the second last car on the lead lap, ahead of Rhodey, who's the other car on the last on the lead lap, which is great to see. And Stenberg has come in as well. Now, he has come out. Actually, he's in the pits now, and just trying to pick up where he is. And there's been an incident off at that final corner. Looks like Rhodey went off. A massive incident. And Rhodey was there. He is. He's doing pirouettes in the grass. There was a coming together between two cars. Now, who was the other party involved in that? Smith & Sons replay coming up.
Devenish.
Was it Will Devenish? Did Will get into the back of Rhodey? Now, this is going to be interesting viewing. Championship leader at the moment. Did he make a mistake? Now, Rhodey was he was on the right lap. That's going to be a hot topic after this one is over. Fairly and squarely, I think the blame may very well be on car 15 for that one. And it has facilitated a stop for Rhodey anyway, so thankfully it didn't happen at the other end of the circuit. So he's now in. Will Devenish also, that was his scheduled stop as well, so he's come in past the half distance mark. And he's got a drive-through penalty to boot, so that means he's been done for speeding in pit lane. So that's not... That goes from bad to worse for Devenish. So that means he is going to tour the lane again, and he will probably drop down the order. I'm just trying to predict where he's going to be here. I reckon he's going to be probably behind Scott Stancliffe if it stands the way that it is now. Burko currently your effective race leader, but still with a pit stop to make. And he's serving that stop now. So that will then promote Stenberg back to the race lead. And he's going to have a margin. He's going to have a massive margin once this all shakes out.
So I think the gap has increased.
Yeah, it's increased a lot actually. So
Massively.
we'll wait for the Burko to serve his stop, and also Pete Savage to get across the line. Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that one as the timing screen just ticks over. Yeah, it's out. Well, it's 7.2 via live races, but I fear it's probably going to be a bit more than that. Lock up for Stenny going into the hairpin. And Brian Walsh, drive through him. And you're right, Hans, 9 seconds, just on 9 seconds. So it has sort of, as the live timing sort of starts to settle down with everybody coming in and serving their stops, this is a big margin for Kurt Stenberg. This is what he needed to hit back in the championship. And now with the championship leader having a huge problem and having to tour the lane for a second time, he's fallen well down the order now. He's in 13th, but he has not served that drive-through just yet.
All this drama promotes Tim Redmond up into third, which is a very good result for him if we can snatch this one, because he showed the pace in practice, because they just ran a little bit wide there, a little bit too close to comfort against that time area. But anyway,
we're just looking at the margin that he's got now over Luke Rosella. So this will be the battle that I'm going to be interested in to the flag. So Rosella probably has the quicker car, but we've seen Tim already very, very good with the defensive lines, especially going into the hairpin, going into 6, which are the two primary passing zones. You can get a pass done at turn 1 if you really dare.
That defensive driving from?
Sure.
Yeah, not from you. It was from the summer series when I was racing it.
So there you go. So now there's two defensive driving schools.
We were all boxing on in that series. It was great fun, the summer series. But no, Tim Redmond, he's been promoted from the Super 2 series up to main game, and he's showing why right now.
And if you looked at the point standings earlier on in the night, you would have seen that he had a pretty solid debut, opening 2 races at Adelaide, very, very firmly entrenched in the top 10. We saw Brian Walsh come out of the pits in the Scott Pye entry, served his penalty, and Rosella rounds him up as well. They pretty evenly matched the last time round. Actually, Redmond was a tenth of a second quicker than Luke Rosella, so this might become a little bit of a stalemate for the next couple of laps. His countryman lets him through here, but I'm sort of worried that Rosella's podium opportunity, it's right there, it's there for the taking. It's only a 2-second gap, it's not very much, but he's really got to get his skates on if he wants to grab that third spot.
I think the situation is critical right now.
These are the laps where it counts. No, these are the laps where it counts. The next sort of 5 laps, he really needs to make some big inroads while Redmond starts to encounter the traffic. And at the moment, what did he do in the last lap? He was actually 0.3 of a second quicker, so he's responded. So Rosella's starting to respond to what's the situation that he finds himself in, but he's not going to respond and do well if he just did what he did there and overdrove it at the hairpin.
I was about to remark that Tim Redmond, I actually thought he may have been thrown in the deep end with being promoted to the Supercars series, but he's actually shown that he's done pretty well, and he's showing that they were right to promote him up to the main game, because he is a very handy steerer in there.
He certainly is, and aside from the disaster in race 2 where the teammates took each other out on the run to turn 4 at Adelaide 3 weeks ago, both of them have shown that they've got the pace and that they do belong and can mix it up in the main series. I think a lot of them were considering top 10 results to be a very, very suitable outcome if they were able to do it routinely. And Tim and Scott both had some good results at Adelaide, and at the moment they both find themselves in the top 10 at the moment. Redmond 3rd and Stancliffe in 7th. And even the development team's going well. So NZ Snipes, who was searching for a top 10 finish last time out, lead Nissan of the 2 Nissans. He's at the moment 8th place on the road, and I believe has stopped. Everybody, I believe, has been in and completed their stops. And his stablemate, Peter Thrower, is the second car 1 lap down at the moment, but he is in 15th and look, still lapping pretty handily. when you look at all the best lap times that are out there, they're actually not that far apart. It's right now where that sort of fatigue starts to set in, and the rhythm that you try and keep up for the better part of 40 odd minutes of a race just starts to go away if you're not careful.
So 2.4 seconds the gap between Rosella and Redmond, which is just increasing ever so slightly. It's like an accordion, you're pulling it out, pulling it out, pulling it out. But Tim Redmond is definitely holding his own here. Kurt Stenberg also holding his own, about 10 seconds ahead of Peter Savage. In second, so his teammate has fallen by the wayside, and for CRE team number 1, it is Pete Savage who is flying the flag at the moment.
Just a little bit of comment that Hans' mic was a little bit quiet from Matt Cecil, so I've just turned him up a little bit there, and actually from Philip Gurman, sorry Philip, and just turned the mic up a little bit, so hopefully it'll be a bit better moving forward from the commentary point of view. But this gap that Stenberg currently enjoys, 9.8 seconds, Pete Savage has not been able to take any or make any inroads into it over the course of the last 5 or 6 laps. But pretty much since the pit stops and shook out, it became mission number 1, I think, was probably to bring the car home when he realised the gap's going up and he wasn't going to be able to arrest it. And Stenberg now about to put the Roadie Mobile another lap down. We've also lost Brian Walsh in this race. We lost that back at lap 24. So Brian did pretty well to get 24 laps into a 42 lap race, albeit considering that he hasn't had a lot of exposure to cars with no traction control. He has been trialling it. I actually do want to give a shout out to him, because in the practice session he actually managed a time that was 0.3 quicker than his fastest lap that he did in proper supercars last year, and that one was done with traction control.
That's pretty good.
That's very good.
Yeah, well done, Walshy.
Now, I've just noticed that Scott Nolan is now a lap down as well, and he's just sort of got he's gone past Roadie. There he is, just tailing Roadie, and there he's back a shot there. So he's had a bit of a hard road to recovery since he was off the road just prior to the pit stops, and he has had that earlier pit stop too, so we need to keep that in mind as to, is he going to fall off? Has he actually gone to the hard tyre to try and at least get home and salvage some points?
I'll just have a look at the lap times here. We've got Nolan in 13th, and actually I think he's just taken to the pits that lap, because it says his lap was a 1:07.55, so yeah, not sure about that one.
Yeah, he maybe might be right there. He might have actually come into the pits and take another stop. Now, this is a good result for Lou Sim Sport at the moment, with Lewis Wedding P6 and Steve Burko's in 12th. And Hans, you're just pointing out a little something here on the live timing here at asrleague.liveraces.com. What are you looking at? Pointing up.
I was just going to say, if you could get all of Scott Nolan's laps up, maybe I can be able to tell if he's on the hard tyre.
Ah, right. Yes, no, we definitely probably can do that. So while we have a bit of a look at those statistics, which is probably one of the best things about live races, we pull it up for Scott Nolan in position number 13, and his lap times over the course of the last 5, 6, 7 laps. Well, it will look like they're probably a soft tyre lap, I would say. There's a 52.6 in there, and there's a bunch of 53. So I don't think that's hard tyre pace consistent, is it?
Conclusive. I can't
know,
honestly. But the thing is, what is a hard tyre like around here, Steve? What sort of times would a hard tyre user be doing?
Well, I was actually talking to some of the guys. Even Brian Walsh had mentioned that even the harder tyre in Super 2 last week was only about a half a second difference overall. I mean,
being
most
a short track and a lot of straight braking zones, you'd think that it's not that
worst part.
sizable of a difference.
And the worst part where it bites is out of the traction zone. So turn 4 is the primary zone. You really need to sort of be careful with it. I'd imagine that's where most of the problems happen to be.
So Nolan might be on the hard tyre actually, and considering the speed at which they all blew past him, I would think that he is on the hard tyre.
Alright, so we've got the better part of 9 laps to go, and the battles that we are looking at the moment: Will Devenish has slotted himself. He's now just managed to get himself past, well, he's actually having a bit of a battle with Lime Mitch at the moment for 9th and 10th. So there was a little bit of...
Not quite, they're nowhere near each other, so
no, well,
timing issue.
I think there was it might be a timing issue. Maybe there was a pass down at the hairpin and Will made a mistake and he had to clear the throttle and let Mitch go. But he's made his way back into the top 10 and directly ahead of him on track, as I said, is Lime Mitch. And then NZ Snipes is about another 2.5 seconds up the road. So Will's fast running out of laps here to really try and claw back as many of those championship points that he's lost as he possibly can. The other party that I'm interested in taking a look at the moment is former series champion from 2019 in Brenton Foley. Now this is probably his best run that we've seen in Supercars, I reckon, for probably the better part of the year now. He had a very good early start to proceedings in 2020 and then really sort of started to fall off the radar a little bit. His performance sort of lacked a little bit. Adelaide definitely did not go according to plan for this man. He had to hand over the number 1 at the end of the year to Kurt Stenberg, but let's put Adelaide down to a blip on the radar and let's just focus in on the positives. Up 1 spot from his starting position. Best lap at the moment is a 52.4, not too shabby. It's about 4/10 of a, it's 52 flat, which is only 3/10 of a second off the current race fastest lap held by Kurt Stenberg. So I think he will probably have a bit of a smile on his face after this one and probably a bit more confident that he can mix it with the best if he can get a good run.
Yeah, maybe not setting the world on fire right now, but he's definitely doing a very solid job, just chipping away at it. And I would agree, as we say that.
Foley-esque. No,
just
yep.
decides to tip it in, and the rear decides to overtake the front, and we've got a safety car.
Yes, we do. So we have got a safety car. So this is now an interesting dilemma, and it's very late in the race too. So this is going to set up for a very quick finish. Now, I reckon there's a car that's gone off somewhere, maybe at turn 1, because actually it's Scott Nolan. It's
so
Nolan. All right, so Nolan on the Smith & Sons replay. We're about to take a bit of a look and see what's happened. And here we go. So over to the replay. Here we go. Oh, he's had a massive moment coming over the hump. And he's got the fence. Yep, and that will have done the engine. So that's the cause of the late race safety car.
Pretty shocking event for Scott Nolan, actually, so bad luck.
And we move back to live pitches now. This is a reprieve for Will Devenish. This is going to give him an opportunity to pick off a couple of cars between now and the end of the race. So the ASR Camaro safety car is out. Now it has picked up Justin Cecil. Now, is he the lucky dog? I'm just trying to work out. No, he's not. So Ujit Mishra gets the lucky dog, which means he'll get to lap the field. And speaking of Justin Cecil, there he is. So he just has to hold station. So Kurt Stenberg is going to have lap traffic. Behind him is Cheese. I'm not going to do the silly microphone noise that Lewis Wedding does. We'll pay a bit of respect to that.
Wouldn't know anything about it.
No, we wouldn't know anything about it. Ujit Mishra is behind them here. Now, I'm not sure if Mishra knows that he's getting the lucky dog. By our calculations, he is going to get it. And the train is going to catch up to the back of this. So actually, there goes, is that Mishra going in?
Mishra, he's in the pits.
All right, so that means he couldn't make it. So he now loses his lucky dog. And, race control. That's Steve Warwick. Warwick's just been caught out of... What's happened there? I think the safety car checked up and they didn't realise what was going on. About to say Steve Warwick just exited the pit, so he's going to be done for pit lane speeding. So
Justin Cecil's been allowed to go past.
Yep, he has now.
There you go, lucky dog.
All right, so that answers that question. The lucky dog has been handed out, so he'll be able to lap the field. So he gets a lap back, and that puts him on the back of the train. So that means there's lap traffic critically between Stenberg and Pete Savage. This is probably, I'd say, Hans, not what Tim Redmond wanted to see.
No, not at all, because that puts him under attack from Luke Rosell and Steve Warwick DNF as well, so bad luck to Steve.
Yep, I think he figured that with the drive-through penalty, he was going to be pretty much rear of the train anyway, or unless he's had a technical gremlin. So fourth car exits this race. We get one more lap under the HSV Camaro safety car. Great painted livery for this year. Very, very bright, very, very exuberant compared to
Can't miss it.
the last few years.
The safety car, so you can't miss it.
And it'll leave this field now. If they learned anything from the last lesson, this car got down to turn 1, they will behave themselves, and just Stenny's doing the right thing here, just leaving a little bit of margin just for when this car checks up. And there it is. Actually, he actually didn't quite leave a bit of margin for the safety car.
Not only did the safety car check up to basically a crawl, it managed to go all 4 wheels over the white line. So that's a track cut penalty for the safety car.
Yeah,
very, very, very bad.
Yeah, very bad for the safety car driver. Almost reminds me of what happened at the Vic State Racing Series a couple of weeks ago with Colin Smith at the wheel, and then had a bit of a dip into turn 10 on the safety car period and promptly ran it off the road.
That's still not the most impressive tip that I've ever seen, and Lewis Wedding will agree with me, because we went to Sandown and we saw the Team Medical Australia car down at Dandenong Road locking up the inside front wheel, and it was fantastic. The whole crowd erupted, actually. We were on that hill at Dandenong Road corner, and everyone erupted. We loved it. We love watching the Team Medical Australia cars having a massive go. They do great work as well. So,
they do. They're one of the best trained crews in the real life motorsport paddock, the Team Medical guys.
Not are they very good at their medical activities, they are also very good at their driving activities as well.
All right, so we expect safety car's going to come in this lap. It might be a late entry. Yep, there it goes. Okay, so it's off. So Stenberg's got control of the field. He's critically got Cheese as some lap traffic, just waiting for the green flag. And that will come when they get to the control line. So here we go, and he bolts. So timed that very, very well. And just with 2 laps to go, the real battle that we're interested in is, can Savage clear Cheese very, very quickly and pursue Stenberg? I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Stenberg is gone. Like, he's got a half-second margin already. Brendan Ross has got the fence there and allows Tim Redmond through. Critically for Redmond, that is important because Rosella is a bit further behind.
So Redmond's actually got, I think, his development series teammate with him behind him.
Yep.
Actually, I think he's just been disposed of. So
he has.
Luke Rosella is going to be on the attack now. There's a couple more lap cars there.
I don't think he's got enough margin. Foley's having a go. Brenton Foley was having a go around the outside there as well, and he's on Rosella's tail, and he wants to try the Rosella trick from earlier in the race, going right around the outside at 6. Is he going to make it stick? He does.
He's going to do it.
What a fantastic move. How's that, Luke Rosella? Had done to you what you did to others, and Foley up into P4 is third on the cards. Has he got anything in the tank for this last lap? Is the traffic going to be kind? It's going to be a hard task to master.
Yeah, Foley, if he can get on the podium, it'll be a stellar turnaround from Adelaide and a welcome return to form for him.
Don't think he's going to do it because there's
so many lap cars in the way. I think Tim Redmond is safe for now.
Yeah, he definitely will be safe for now, and I think the other man who's going to be safe in this equation is going to be Kurt Stenberg. He's got a 1.2 second margin coming to the line. Checker will be out this time around, and TTR and Holden will strike back. Not only will they make it 3 wins from 3 starts for Holden's in the Supercars Championship this year, but car number 1 for the first time this year is on position number 1 on the rostrum. Kurt Stenberg home in a time just under 39 minutes there with the safety car affected. Pete Savage, good drive for Pete Savage. His second podium in as many starts, actually. There he is. He's going to be very, very happy with that one. And welcome to the Supercars podium, Tim Redmond.
It's going to be interesting to interview him. I wonder what he's got to say about it. It's going to be a very, very good drive from everyone in the top 3. Pete Savage couldn't get up there in the end from a poor start. Gee, what about the start from Tim Redmond? He got up there very, very quickly. He was up there in second for a sizable portion of the race. And Kurt Stenberg, you could say it's a perfect race, actually. He's just done everything right. He started from pole, and he's led more or less every lap of the race. So.
And the conversion was magnificent. From pole position, the start was probably the best one I think we've seen in a long time. We had perfect view of it right over that first row, and he just left Will Devenish for dead.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've remarked on Will Devenish's poor starts and how he needs to improve them if he wants to win this championship. And it just shows that you can't count Stenberg out, because he's very, very good at bringing a good result after a tough weekend.
Yep, and they're all filing back into pit lane here. So in order, Stenberg, Savage and Redmond, Brenton Foley, and then Luke Rosella was the man who ended up P5. Couldn't quite hang on to that P4. Fantastic move from Brenton Foley. Lewis Wedding's going to be happy with 6th place. Scott Stancliffe, P7. So 2 Kiwi Sim Sport cars in the top 10. NZ Snipes gets a debut top 10. Lime Mitch 9th, and he held off Will Devenish in the end, who finished in 10th. So for Will, that's going to be a very, very difficult debrief and a very difficult sort of task to get himself going again for this second qualifying session and second race.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have seen that when Will is up against it, he tends to make mistakes. So hopefully he's able to arrest that downward spiral that the first race has been, and he's able to pull something out in the second race. But, I mean, it's not looking good right now. From what I know of his driving, if it generally goes wrong in race 1, it starts to go wrong for the rest of the night. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully he's able to get up there and give it a good shake at the top, because we don't want to see a runaway at the moment.
No, we certainly don't. But what we will do is now we haven't actually got a podium set up here at Symmons Plains. I don't know why we do, but we are going to take them down to the Exeter Turn 4 here. We've got the lovely Smith and Son signs, the ASR signs. So we're going to do the podium presentations down in front of the fans. And where do we start? Who are we going to start with, Hans? Do we start at the top? Do we start at the bottom? What do we do?
Let's start at the bottom of the podium. Let's start with Tim Redmond. Now, Tim, great to see you up here in this series, and great to see you up here on the podium. Well done.
Thanks, Hans. Yeah, I'm really stoked to be here. To be honest, I didn't expect it. It wasn't, it wasn't guaranteeing anything. We have some very top-notch drivers here, so really stoked. It's only round 2. Hopefully this is just a sign of more to come.
Excellent performance from everyone in the Kiwi Sim Sports team. Not just the main team, but also the development team as well. Very well done by everyone. So yourself in 3rd, Scott Stancliffe in 7th, NZ Snipes in 8th, and Peter Thrower, he was in 17th, but he was able to stay there for quite a period of time, and he was actually your rear gunner when the safety car went into the pit lane. So very good job all round, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really proud of the guys. Actually, a full turnout today. We've got arguably 6 cars on the grid with 2 wildcard places filled up by Kiwis. So everyone put on a good show tonight. I think you mentioned Pete being the rear gunner. He had an unfortunate incident after the safety car, which he lost a few places. But as you say, really good showing tonight. Like I say, really proud of the guys, and hopefully we'll see more of that soon.
Well, Tim Redmond, your first podium, hopefully many more to come. Well done.
Thanks, Hans.
Pete Savage was our second place getter tonight. Steve, do you want to interview him?
I do, actually. I want to have a good little chat with Pete Savage. If we can just bring up all the little bits and pieces we need to bring up. Pete, I guess second place was definitely there for the taking throughout the night. Your start was probably on the same level as your teammate was, and you got very, very quickly passed by Tim. I'd imagine it was pretty frustrating at the beginning of that, just not being able to find a way past Tim and until it all sort of got a bit close to the pit stops.
Yeah, that's the no clutch coming into it again. It's making it incredibly hard to get off the line, but luckily I was able to back it up with some good driving in the first stint. I had to overwork my tyres to catch up to Redmond and Devenish, and also to pass them. But after that pit stop, I was able to get into some nice clear air. I did most of it without even having anyone of any lap traffic in the way. I was able to have a nice run to the end, and set some pretty good laps in that second stint. So I'm looking forward to this next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Your lap times were pretty consistent, as you said, after the pit stop when you had that clear air. And while you weren't sort of setting the lap time boards on fire, you were sort of only losing a very, very small amount of ground over the course of that second stint up until the safety car came out. I think we looked at what it was after it all settled down, and it was 9 seconds. And then by the time the safety car came out, it was only up to 10, and it had only been sort of about 15 or so laps. So it wasn't actually that bad. You did hold your own quite well. The lap traffic at the restart probably, I guess, didn't fall your way, but did you feel you were probably in with a shot at maybe snatching the win had it not have been a factor?
I honestly reckon even with Cheese not being in between me and Stenny, I don't reckon I would have got him. I'm not really feeling that comfortable in the car at this track. It seems every time I try to push the car, I end up spinning out the rear. I would have been very happy with second anyway. I mean, the lap cars ended up helping me anyway. It meant that Redmond and Fawley and Rosella couldn't have a crack at me, so I was able to guarantee me getting second. So, yeah, take the positives with the negatives, really.
Well, another podium, second podium in a row. Good to see you up here again. And as you said, let's see what you can do in race number 2.
Thank you.
Well, Hans, the pole sitter converted beautifully and gets his first win of the campaign and has got his championship defence back on track.
Kurt Stenberg, pretty much a lights to flag victory, but also starting off pole in car number 1 and getting the race win, very dominant race win as well. You were able to convert off the line beautifully. And just tell us about that race and what you thought of it.
Well, I just got a good start, took off, and it went from there pretty much. There wasn't too much to do. Manage tyres, think about fuel and strategy and whatnot, and I wasn't a particular fan of that safety car at the end, but I wasn't too worried because I thought that we would still come out on top, and I was especially pleased when I found out there were lap cars in the train.
So, also noticed as well that your main championship rival fell into trouble with a lap car, not a lap car, but he was trying to pass a car and ended up colliding. So Devenish didn't get that many points tonight. Obviously, you looked to capitalise on it, and it was the best way to do it, wasn't it?
Well, it is the best way to capitalise, and I saw that he'd got a drive-through penalty. I didn't know about the rest of it, but yeah, when the main rival has a bad day, you've got to have a good one, and you've got to make sure that you don't have bad ones. And I had a bad one round 1, so from this point onwards, we've got to go, and if we want to have any chance at this, we've got to make sure that we don't have any bad ones. So that's what I'll be out there to do in the next one.
Now, Kurt, I've got to ask you, do you think your luck is turning around with the number 1?
I don't know. I just think that this is a very good venue for me, and the cars. We've loaded her out the truck from last year. We've won 2 races here last year, so I just feel like we're back comfortable with the car, and the car's good.
Well, Kurt, very well done on your race win and pole position, and best of luck for the next one.
No worries, thanks guys.
Apologies to the viewers there. Probably missed out on a little bit of Hans Brunswick's mic. I think he forgot to...
I don't think anyone would worry about that because I was too busy thinking about drinking water and looking at my phone. So
there you go.
What else is new in the world? You know?
Multitasking. We'll let these guys...
multitasking very poorly, I may add.
We'll let these guys head off and get themselves ready for the second race of the evening. And we'll take a very short break so you can look at your phone and drink some water, and we'll be back in a few moments. Don't go anywhere. ASR's Supercars Championship in 2021 is proudly brought to you by Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions. Smith & Sons, design, plan, construct. Cam Rutledge Electrical and Matt Harvey Repair and Tune. Welcome back to round 2 of the ASR Supercars Championship 2021, everybody. We're not too far away from going into qualifying for the second race of this evening. And if you're not looking at your news articles at the moment, you might want to have a little bit of a quick look. I mean, you can multitask and do the same things that everybody does, but we now know the reason why Hans Brunswick was actually looking at his phone, because he's a fan of the news. And if you're watching the last broadcast that we did notice that there was a couple of tributes in there for Murray Walker and Sabine Smits for recently passing away. And we also that bad things usually happen in threes, Hans, but we're actually just seeing some news coming through at the moment that Prince Philip has unfortunately passed away.
Yes, Prince Philip. Yes, very unfortunate indeed that he has passed away. I've known him as one of my favourite royals, and if not my favourite royal. And definitely an absolute lad, and someone who said a lot of silly and ridiculous things, but I think a lot of them were really funny.
Yeah, I think that's what we like the most about him, isn't it?
I mean, it's definitely a shame, because I did enjoy the things that he used to say about I think it was about, there was a Scottish. I'll say one thing. This is my favourite thing that sticks out about Prince Philip. Now, he goes up to a Scottish driving instructor, and he asked her, how do you keep the locals off the whiskey for long enough to be able to drive? And that is just fantastic. Honestly, that is absolutely fantastic. It is great humour.
That's up there with the SVG humour from this morning, isn't it?
That is definitely up there with the SVG humour, but that is, a lot of people didn't like him. A lot of people did like him. I was definitely in the latter group, so rest in peace, Prince Philip.
That's it.
Good innings at 99.
Absolutely. Now, that'll be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of weeks as well. And what'll be interesting to see what happens is in about 20 seconds' time, we're going to advance this clock into the second qualifying session now. We have had a couple of drivers pull the pin for the second race. Brian Walsh, who missed out on finishing that race. He's got a couple of dramas he's not going to take any further part. We're actually getting word maybe what happened to Scott Nolan in that in that first race that caused the safety car. He's actually having a bit of headaches and cramps at the moment, so he's not going to be taking any further part in this one, so it's sad to see. Hopefully he'll be watching along in the live stream while he has a couple of Panadols and does a few other things to try and get himself right. But what we are about to do is see who can top the timing tree in qualifying 2 for the second race this evening, race 4 of the championship.
Hopefully we're going to see some absolute heaters, the servers synchronising again. So I don't think we'll go to live pictures at this moment.
Oh, we're having a look just to see how it all sits, and I think there's a few cars that are in the lane, just getting themselves ready to go. This is obviously just one of the things that we have to put up with sometimes with AMS. Now I've actually got a little. I'm looking to see the countdown time. I'm actually seeing that we've actually had looks like even the championship leader's had an issue. He's actually exited the game just as the session has ticked over. So this will be interesting whether or not he can actually get back in before we go green for qualifying. So he might actually be starting from the back, Will Devenish. That could be, or maybe he's just gotten back in time. So we'll see how we go. It looks like qualifying.
He's just gotten back in.
He's just gotten back in by the skin of his teeth. He has just managed to get back in at the critical moment.
Luke Rosella's being a bit cheeky. He's just gone through the slow lane of the pit lane. He's just like, no, I'm going to go in first.
Oh,
look at this.
Pit lane etiquette just out the window.
Competition is such that you do not let that happen. I can't believe Brody let him in. You just can't do it.
Yep, I think maybe the podium, actually the first place we should say for top step of the Rhodium. From the minis the other night. I think that's just gone a bit to his head. He's just being a bit too polite. Rhodey, we're going to, I think we might have to put some weight on you for the next mini race after that. Letting him out there, that's terrible.
But see, look, Rhodey is competitive in the minis, and then all of a sudden he just goes, oh, please, Luke Rosella, just go right through. Just walk all over me, will you?
Yeah,
golly.
I would say a big lack of respect as well shown by Rhodey. It's a bit disappointing, but anyway.
But Luke Rosella, he's just like, I'm going to just cut in line.
Yeah.
How good.
And
How
that-
good, Luke.
That's it. So there we go. So actually,
I'm going to roast him for a long time afterwards, let me tell you.
Right.
I can assure you of that.
he'll be getting a public roasting after this, I think, in the Discord after we're all said and done for the night, because it'll just be, right, what is that? Come on.
Oh, unbelievable.
That's
Anyway,
it.
we've got laps to do. We've got heaters to set. 8 minutes 45 to go. Luke Rosella, looking at him.
Yep.
Is he able to set a decent lap time that can really give Kurt Stenberg a shake at the top, because then he said he was confident in the car's ability and also his ability here as well. So TTR, they've rolled out a really strong package and a really good engineering group as well at TTR. So
Yep.
they definitely know what is going on.
Well, he's about to start. He's had a moment,
And he's
actually.
about to run off the road.
I was about to say,
and he
we're about
has.
to start. He's actually just run off the road. We're about to start a flying lap
It's the
with
first
him.
mistake he's made all night.
That is actually, and he's given up the ghost straight away. So we'll actually go to the other car that we were planning to do this with, Hans, and let's go for an onboard lap with Luke Rosella.
On board with Luke Rosella now, second gear corner, up to third, up to fourth. And then you can choose either fifth or sixth here. Get it off the rev limiter, go briefly into sixth gear. Brake just after the 100 marker, and look at that. The time, he's actually, and see, he's actually braked too late there, so he should have braked closer to the 150 marker,
And he's
given up the ghost. So basically, whoever we ride up on board with, it just goes to nothing, doesn't it?
No, it certainly does.
We'll definitely ride on board with someone at some point.
Yeah, I think I remember a stream from Stairs at one point where they kept switching to drivers, and they got about halfway through the lap, and then the next comment was, and then you exit back to the pits, because that's what everybody was doing. They were just butchering their laps to the point where they would go back to the pits because they weren't happy with it.
I've been that guy at this track. They've gone on board with me in the ATCC series that is commonly like a sister series, I guess, to ASR. But yeah, I think Floody and Chris, they were able to. Ooh, just spun round.
Not the first time he's had a spin tonight.
So Rosella gets out of the pits and he sees sees Borget spun backwards on the exit of pit lane. But anyway, my story continues. They rode on board with me, and then I was following Damien Rasmussen, an SSR driver, and he braked really late and went off the road, and I was like, okay, I'm going to brake where he brakes, because he's usually quick in these cars, and then I went off the road as well, so it's pretty terrible. So at this very track as well, down at turn number 6. So
Good to see Peter Thrower there just sitting, waiting on the exit for cars.
sitting
on
at
there.
the lights.
Yeah, he's sitting there waiting for the cars on the fast laps to go through, so it's pretty sensible driving
Good
practice.
etiquette. That is good etiquette from Peter
Yep.
Thrower. It would be amazing if we saw more people at traffic lights.
Yeah.
doing that.
You know what? There's good etiquette, then there's bad etiquette. So there was a good etiquette there with Peter Thrower, there was bad etiquette with Luke Rosella. So we'll let...
Luke's never going to live that down.
no,
honestly.
he won't. He won't. He'll... we actually know what, he's not going to live there. We're not going to let him.
I don't think we're going to live it down either. we're all pretty wound up by it, but Rhodey will forgive you.
No, he does. All right. Now Rosella's just done almost exactly the same thing that he did on that on the last lap. So Eddie aborted. So he's gone a bit deep there to the high line through the hairpin, and he's only just fractionally up. So Stenberg, no surprise, gone back to the top, 51.479. Devenish behind him with Redmond in third. So Redmond did spend a very brief period at the top of the timesheets. And you know what I'm noticing here, Hans? Most of the top 10 as they sit right now are almost the same top 10 we had in race 1, minus I think Scott Nolan. I can't remember if Nolan was inside the 10 at the beginning of that last race.
I think he was. We'll get corrected by someone in the live stream,
I'm sure we
but
will.
actually I was just about to notice that Tim Redmond did a 51.68, so it's pretty much what he did in the last qualifying session as well.
That's
so
on his pace. That's where he's been. So he is pretty much very consistent as he goes on. Now Rosella has found a nice little chunk of change here. So up, 10th and a half on the
and
PB.
he's got the draft. He's got Lewis Wedding in front of him.
And
the sister homologation team
Yep.
for the Mustang.
And while he's doing this, Savage just went to the top of the pile with the fastest final sector as well. And a big lose under brakes there for Rosella. Compression
that's
lock.
not how you're going to do it.
Nope, compression lock, snatch the rears, and that will throw that lap to a burden. And yeah, he lost pretty much all the advantage that he just had. And he's that's a little bit naughty from Luke Rosella there. We'll let that one go, and we'll go and see what that
He's
rear
knocked
loss
the
is
sign
doing.
in half.
Yeah. Oh, and Rossi!
Oh, Rossi in the fence!
That's distracted driving if I'd ever seen one.
He's probably reading about the news about
Yeah, he shouldn't be reading any news. Maybe he's driving a car. So Wedding on track ahead of Foley.
And he aborts his lap.
And he aborts the lap as well. So they're all like literally just aborting their laps in the minute. They're all trying to find a bit of room. Brendan Foley's not aborting his lap. He's pressing on. So pretty decent handy time from Pete Savage. Now the pole time last session was 51.251 from Kurt Stenberg, which is just outside the lap record. And that would probably be the benchmark I'd be expecting these drivers to try and get down to, or at least get close to. Geez, look at the gaggle of cars exiting the lane as Foley comes through for another lap. There's Cheese off the road, and Freakish letting him through. Must say, the guys doing the wildcard entries tonight, even though Brian Walsh is unfortunately out of this one, did a good job to stay clean, not get caught up in anything. Likewise, Cheese, Freakish, and Justin Cecil all can hold their heads high after that first race. I mean, the only blot on Justin Cecil's copybook was almost running into the back of the safety car on the safety car lap.
I don't think he was expecting to be the
but he
first
wasn't,
car picked
no.
up by the safety car.
He probably wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, it always helps when you're in Discord with other people. They can tell you that the safety car's about to slow down. But I think those 3 wildcard entries, they can hold their heads up high, absolutely. That they've driven a clean race, and although the pace, the ultimate pace, I should say, isn't there, the fact is that they're able to drive a clean race and have a good time. So it's very important that they do enter these races and they can improve, because the racecraft has been superb.
Now, Will Devenish has got 2 PBs in this lap and does again and goes up one spot. So up ahead of Tim Redmond. And Redmond gets him straight back, I think, has he? Or no, is that... no, it just changed again. So it was Devenish, then it was Redmond, and then it was Devenish again. So the live timing just updating a little bit behind what we've already seen. And Will now holds P3. So again, CRE cars pointy end of the field and up again. So... and up on the pole position time. So that's purple sector 1. Or is it? No, not quite a purple sector 1. But Stenberg now to the top. So he cycles up ahead of Peter Savage and goes with a 51.382. And Devenish up on his PB here, only by a half tenth. And he's going to need to find a little bit there. I just think that the car just looks like it slides a little bit too much through that final corner. And actually, he gained a bit more that time then. So he actually has found a little bit. So look at that. Look at the top 3. 63 hundredths, 63 thousandths between the top 3. Very, very tight. And then behind them, Redmond and Foley, Rosella, Wedding, Mishra, Mitch, and Brendan Ross is the top 10 as it stands at the moment.
I think Will is losing a lot in the second sector.
Rutledge off the road, so the night for Cam Rutledge not going according to plan, and it's just a CRE team. And there's a couple of cars just sort of out breaking themselves and going off the road as we cycle through all the cameras. They are pushing hard, pushing late. And there's even more traffic off the road here. Yeah, Brendan Ross. As Termo goes through. Now the sandbags that I think were being joked about quite early on, I think are back on car 51 now.
Yeah, they're back on, so we're back to regular programming. Unfortunately, Termo, he was so good in that practice session, and it's just all gone wrong for him. So yeah, no termination happening of anyone else tonight. Unfortunately, his pace has been terminated. So Termo, we like you, right, but you need to lift your game, mate.
New fastest lap moment for Stenberg, 51.276. Has just gone purple at the top of the standings, just as Termo goes and slams in a PB 0.3 of a second quicker than what he has previously done this session. And the top 15 still less than a second separating them. Actually, 3/4 of a second is all that separates top 15, as the checkered flag is out for this session.
Is not able to improve, so he's 2/10 down.
No, now
on that lap.
Is there anybody out there that can improve? I think the next one is NZ Snipes, and he goes to 4th.
Oh, very well done.
What a lap! Late lap,
very
14th
lap.
to 4th. That is an outstanding lap. by the driver of car 420, and I reckon he will not have expected that at all. He is right. He's actually ahead of Tim Redmond in the senior team. So
I think there's a promotion coming soon to NZ Snipes, but also a very worthy promotion to the Supercars competition as well.
absolutely,
So
and
very well done.
we're lucky. I'm very fortunate we caught that one. Actually, he'll be very pleased with that one. Now he's just got to convert the start. So we'll let that one go. But pole position, not a surprise again, is Kurt Stenberg, and there he is in the garage there. Will Devenish, P2, so second consecutive. And you know what the funny part is? It's the same top three from race 1.
That's pretty unbelievable, isn't
That's
it?
pretty unbelievable. It is actually.
Qualifying, yeah.
So now the only real part about this is, and Stenberg's lap at a 51.276 and 51.251 for the earlier qualifying session. Pretty good, pretty consistent, and I think looking at the times across the board, very, very consistent. What I have seen, though, is that top 15, as I said before, it's 3/4 of a second. That has shrunk. It was nearly a full second in qualifying 1, and it's now 3/4 of a second in qualifying for race 2.
Closer, yeah. So very, very well done by everyone in the top 15 to be so close. And then Rhodey's another 3/10 behind Steve Burko in 15th. So he is 1.1 seconds off the pace. But no, very, very well done. It just shows the depth of the field here in ASR Supercars. We don't claim to be the superstar league or anything, but we are a very, very good league.
Well, while we have a very, very quick 5-minute warm-up session, we'll go back and just have a quick review of the drivers' standings and team standings before the night. So everybody that is just tuning in late can have a bit of a quick glance at what it was coming into tonight. So after round number 1 and the first 2 races, that was your top 10 as it stood. And you can see there that the man who won race 1 this evening in Kurt Stenberg was off that list. Now, I'd imagine he is going to be on that list in the next graphic that comes up in 3 weeks' time by virtue of having a race win under his belt and probably going to have a very decent finish. And I would probably bet my bottom dollar here, Hans, that Will Devenish is probably not going to be on the top of this points graphic. Or be very close to not being on the top of the points graphic if he can't get a good start in this second race.
Absolutely. He needs to avoid a disaster like in the first race, because it was definitely a disaster. He wasn't expecting probably Rhodey to break so early. But that's the risk you take, I guess. You just need to be aware that when you're coming up behind someone, you need to... it depends on who you're coming up behind, because they might give you room. So definitely wasn't expecting it. But I think it will be a point of discussion in the stewards' room after this. And I think there will be a well-deserved penalty going his way, because you simply cannot run into the back of other cars.
Yeah, and on top of that, a slower car to boot as well. And that car actually had right to be there. Rhodey was on that lap, so the pass was actually, it needed to be a legitimate pass and a clean pass. So you're right, that will definitely be looked at. The team standings come into tonight, and I still think that CRE are going to be well and truly on top by the time the night is over, if all indications are what they are so far. Synergy Sim Racing, I think, will probably have a little bit of work to do. I think they're probably going to be overtaken by Kiwi Sim Sports after tonight's over, just by virtue that Scott Nolan has unfortunately come down ill in that first race and needs to have a bit of time away. And there's a few other moves and shakes that I think will probably happen when this is all over and done with as well. The team wins at the moment is now split 3 ways, one to CRE, Blackshaws, and of course tonight TTR. And we'll have to see if TTR can go 2 for 2 at the little Apple Isle here in Tasmania. Let's head back over to the practice session, or warm-up session rather, and let's see what everybody has got in store. Now, I'm actually curious here, Hans, to see where Will Devenish is at, because he is not out there on the track trying to perform some starts like we're going to see from Tim Redmond here, just trying to convert with as minimal wheel spin as possible. So let's keep an eye on it. Like see a little bit of smoke, just babying the clutch off the line, and then it just gets a bit of smoke late. So what do you reckon about that? Do you reckon that's it's a pretty clean start, but you know, very, very minimal wheel spin?
There's a way to do it. I think if you just let Redmond do it, it sort of absorbs the wheel spin in a way. But no, if you get a bit of wheel spin and smoke at the very later part of the start, it's not so bad, but in the early part of the start, it's terrible. So as long as you're not, and that's the thing, you want to be able to release the clutch, because if you don't release the clutch quick enough, you're slow, and if you release the clutch too quickly, you do a burnout, and then you're slow. So it is a very delicate balancing act, and honestly, Will Devenish should be out there doing some practice starts, because his starts have been pretty terrible. You can see here go, just very leery coming out of the pit box there.
Yeah, I think we keep telling everybody that he's got Brett Foley as his role model with the amount of sideways action that he likes to perform sometimes.
You know he got promoted from the ASC Super 3 class to Super 2 because he was too good.
And then
he was so good at it, he just got promoted straight up to Super 2. So well done, Higo.
Yes, absolutely.
It was actually really funny because I was in that race at Bathurst at round 1, and he was basically fighting with some Super 2 cars at, like, I think it was the tail end of the top 10 of something, like really crazily high up like that. So the admins quickly promoted him to Super 2. But no, Higo does a good job, and we always like it when he does well. And we always like it when he jumps out of the server and he's feeling happy, so that's what we like to see.
Yeah, what we like to see is plenty of people out there driving, and what we like to see is people like this man who have been through a bit of adversity in the last few months or so. Steve Warwick had started pretty decently in Super 2 Summer Series, and then unfortunately had to stay in hospital, and is very much still on the rehab path, but going very, very nicely. And without revealing too many details about what went on, it was actually pretty serious, and it's good to see that the man who is probably one of the oldest statesmen in ASR is out there, and I guess for him this is probably not only a form of rehab with a bit of cardio work, I'd imagine, with force feedback on the wheel, but it's probably what a lot of people look forward to as like their creative release or stress release, I think, as well, and just getting back to doing something that they enjoy doing.
Yeah, spot on. Sim racing is almost a hobby rather than just like sort of an activity, I guess. So it is a bit of a money pit, just like real life race cars. So in that case, it's quite similar. But no, good to see Steve out there. He's back and running again, and something interesting, that son actually got father into sim racing there. So his son Colin Warwick, who won one of the races at Adelaide, I think it was race 2 he won at Adelaide, so with a stellar final lap pass down at turn 9 in the hairpin. But Cole actually got his father into sim racing, and that's what we like to see. We like to see some father and son involvement, but also I guess it's not always the father that gets the son involved in sim racing either. It's
the third father and son pairing actually as well. It's made it into ASR, and the one that we're going to be looking forward to see next, I think, is going to be the man who is in the series at the moment in Scott Stancliffe, and his son in Braxton Stancliffe, when they actually, with a bit of luck, get to share a racetrack together a bit later on this year. They've shared it in Super 2 Summer Series, where it was a bit late, which was sort of a bit more of a developmental type series, and with young son Braxton sort of actually leading Super 2 at the moment.
I was just about to point that out, that he's
ever,
actually the youngest ever points leader in any ASR series in history.
He
so
certainly
very,
is.
very well done.
So
there.
He's done an extremely good job there to lead that series. And with a bit of luck, I think they're eyeing off some potential wildcard opportunities for him moving forward a bit later on this year. So that'll be interesting to see when he finally gets out there. Then we'll have the fourth father and son pairing.
Anyway, on to the starting grid for race number 2. Qualifying number 2, quite a lot like qualifying number 1, with Kurt Stenberg off pole position. Will Devenish alongside him, and the car's evenly matched there, so that's one thing.
They're just evenly matched on the starting grid. I think
evenly
that's
matched
about
on the starting grid, yeah. So we'll see who is able to. You see the car rolling back there. So the handbrake definitely essential on a race start here. So the car's off and away on their signing lap. So Kurt Stenberg on pole, Will Devenish in second, Pete Savage in third position. NZ Snipes, fantastic lap in the dying moment with, he actually jumped up to fourth, so well done. Tim Redmond in 5th, backing up his solid performance in race 1. Hopefully he can get another podium. Brent Foley in 6th again, actually. So a pair of 6 qualifying positions for Brendan Foley. Luke Rosella down in 7th, probably would have expected him to do a bit of a better job in qualifying, and he would think that as well. Lewis Wedding in 8th. Orchard Mishra in 9th, Lime Mitch in 10th, so the 2 AAR cars are together actually. Brendan Ross in 11th, he's missed the start actually, so he's going to be starting from pit lane. Scott Stancliffe in 12th, just outside the top 10, Termo in 13th, Cheese in 14th, doing a very solid job. Steve Burko down in 15th, and Brody, first of the cars, more than a second away from the pole time in 16th. Nathan Higginson in 17th, Freakish in 18th, Peter Thrower in 19th, Kiwi Sim Sports Development Team. Cam Rutledge in 20th, Justin Cecil in the wildcard car in position number 21. Steve Warwick down in 22nd, and that sums up our grid. So watching Kurt Stenberg come to the line now, and I'll just have to see if Rossi actually made it out of pit lane. So he is there at the exit of pit lane, so he's missed the start.
Yep, there he is, sitting there with, we'll have to gauge the brake or the handbrake there, Rossi. Maybe just rolling back a bit so you can see the pit exit lights on that side of the screen. And we go back to this little battle here. Now, just waiting to see what the lights situation looks like. A couple of cars just a bit awkward to get into position. Looks like we're not too far away for a start for race 2 tonight, for race 4 of the championship. And away we go. And another conversion, good conversion off the start this time, but Devenish's start was much, much better compared to the last time out. He hasn't been swamped. Foley right around the outside. Snipes has had a good start. He's up to P3. And then as they thunder through the 3rd turn on the circuit, it's Foley now going door handle to door handle with Pete Savage a bit further back.
Shocker of a start for Savage. He's down 2 positions. Oh, Foley's just nudged NZ Snipes in the back there. So Snipes, fantastic start. He managed to keep the car straight, and hopefully he can work forwards from there. Very, very good start from Snipes, and very good start as well against Stenberg.
Yep, another good conversion by Stenberg, but this time it was just Will Devenish was a little bit better, but he still wasn't quite good enough. He just needs to hang in there now, and he needs to
dive from Savage. Is he going to get there?
There it is, and yeah, just down the inside. So Foley looking for 4th.
Side by side.
And this is, you know, a little bit of rub and racing.
See you later. I'm getting that position back, says Pete Savage, and now he's just into 4th.
Oh, a little unsettled moment in the rear as well. Redmond is now under extreme pressure behind him. From Luke Rosella. You can see them as they thunder through this shot again, and look at this 3-car train. Rosella just applying maximum pressure.
Defensive.
Yep.
Going defensive early as well.
And here comes Stancliffe. That actually opens the door for Scott Stancliffe. He sticks his nose in there, and there was a little bit of contact just on the opposite side of that camera shot. So Rosella would have taken a shot at the rear quarter panel there, and safety car. Now someone's gone off, so that'll be a bit further down the field, and it's Cam Rutledge. So Rutledge has gone on straight on at the hairpin. Was he involved in a little tangle there? Let's go and have a bit of a look and see what the end result was. Now he qualified poorly, and is he going off the road all by himself? Oh, so Lewis Wedding was off the road a bit further ahead. I did see that. And Rutledge has gone straight. Okay, so there were 2 cars off at the hairpin. So that's the reason why.
That explains more of the story there.
Yeah. So normally
2 cars off at the one corner, that's definitely going to be a safer car every day.
Yeah, correct. So the downside there is, if you're right, if it was only 1 car that was off the road at the safety at turn 4, it wouldn't have been an issue. But because the 2nd car went off down there, it's caused a chain reaction. And Lewis Wedding was doing the right thing. He was just sitting there waiting for all the traffic to go past and rejoin safely, and then the 2nd car went off. And the thing is, I could see ahead when we were watching from Cam Rutledge that he could see that Wedding was off there. So, I guess degree of caution maybe should have been exercised a little bit. What we have noticed is that's now facilitated a very early stop for Lewis Wedding, maybe having
going onto the hard tyre strategy.
Very early to go into the hard tyre from here. They were talking that the fuel, you could get about 35 laps out of a tank of fuel. Tyres was the limiting factor. Soft tyres, you would have to split down the middle lap 20, 21, 22 and go from there if you could make it that far. This would be a stretch on the hard tyre for Lewis Wedding. 35 laps with 3 gone already. That's 38. That, you do your math, people. That means it's 4 laps short on fuel. and with 3 laps on the safety car, he would have to save a lot. And I actually think that he's probably just come in, put on a brand new set of boots, and he's just going to do what he can do, although he's not going to...
run off the road.
Yeah, he's not going to give the tyres very good life if he runs off the road like that.
So the safety car has come early, but also another thing is that no one else has taken a stop. Unless you're Lewis Wedding and you've had an accident, you might as well go and take the stop then. But you're just out of that window. You're not in that window yet to take the stop. So what's going to happen here? It might end up being a blessing for some of these drivers, because they might be able to go soft tyre and then soft tyre again, just from the short reprieve that they get from the safety car. Brendan Ross in the pits as well.
Yep, he's taken that bait as well, seeing as he started from the pit lane and has come in.
Well, he doesn't quite lose anything more than what he had. So
no, correct. So he's going to just catch up to the back of the train. So this is a big reprieve for him, because he was a full sector down, remember. He couldn't exit the pit lane until Kurt Stenberg had crossed the first sector marker, which is just before turn 4. And now he'll have an opportunity to at least be on the back of the snake and be able to make up a few places.
Lewis Wedding, meanwhile, has caught up to the back of the train. And I think they will be going green flag next time by.
Correct. So it'll be a 3-lap safety car run and go from there. There you go. There's that moment with the safety car going all 4 wheels off the turn there. I think there might need to be a slight adjustment to the AMS AI line to correct that little abnormality. One of the things that often gets a bit overlooked sometimes. It's more about, when doing your testing, is making sure that the safety car comes out and it goes in and it doesn't cause any issues, but that is certainly an issue that needs to be looked at. And the good thing here is Kurt Stenberg just maintaining a nice little gap to the safety car as well, just making sure that it's going to do anything abrupt. He's not going to run into the back.
Now this brings Devenish back into the battle.
He's brake dragging there as well, actually, Kurt Stenberg. I'm noticing. Look at the brake lights on that car.
To warm up the brakes, so when he gets to turn 1, he doesn't have a heap of rear brake and the thing doesn't stop. But also to keep the tyres pressures up as well. So yeah, Stenny knows what he's doing. Very experienced sim racer. Very handy one at that.
Absolutely.
I was about to remark that Will Devenish, he's actually been brought back into it. So hopefully if he can get a good restart here, maybe that could put him into the lead. But like I said, his restarts and his starts have been very ordinary this season. Yes, just much like last season as well. So we're going to have a look now.
He's going to be right under the rear wing here of Kurt Stenberg right at this restart. Now they've got to stay where they are until they get to the green flag comes out, and Stenny will have the whole shot to go. And Devenish is awake this time, so that's a very good restart. Very good restart by most of the field. Single file, everyone staying nice and close together. And this is now where Stenny needs to put the hammer down and get away. But it's not as clear cut as it was when they started from the start finish line just a few seconds ago, or a few minutes ago rather. It's much tighter at the front. NZ Snipes as well is a bit further back here, and he's held his own throughout the restart as well.
Safety car
and safety
again.
car, no, safety car not again. There was
Just a local yellow.
Local
I saw
yellow.
it flashing, and I was like,
yeah. Very briefly, I think maybe somebody may have rotated at the hairpin and
Snipes
gone
going
around.
defensive. He's going defensive here. He's boxing on. He's going to make Pete Savage do it the hard way around. Can he do it?
He's
trying. He's trying really hard.
He's got it.
He's got it.
Well done, Pete Savage.
What a move.
And fastest lap, no surprise, at the restart there by Kurt Stenberg. We only had a couple of laps under the green flag before it came out. But no, very smart passing move by Pete Savage. And he now continues his pursuit of another podium finish. And this is something that we didn't see from Savage all last year when he was in the Loose Sim Sport Ford. He's taken this up another notch this year. He's fighting for podiums and fighting for good results. I mean, Adelaide Race 1 probably was not the result that he wanted, but 2 podiums on the trot now and right in the thick of the championship hunt.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just come on strong this season, and hopefully once he gets a clutch pedal again, he'll be able to do a start. So he's working on that, and I think that's his main Achilles heel at the moment, because it's just his starts have been extremely poor. Here we go on board with Peter Savage for JB Hi-Fi on board camera. He takes a massive amount of curb there. Second gear corner, up to third, up to fourth gear now, and you do get briefly into sixth gear up here. And hopefully he brakes just past the 150 marker. There you go. Does he go off the road? No, he doesn't. He survives once again. Takes a bit of a narrow line there. gets on the gas. Bit of a slide there. No traction control on these cars. And up through the gears again. This massive curve straight here. And the car's bouncing and wiggling and all over the shop here. And going side by side here is quite hairy. Just before the 100 marker, brake it hard. And down a couple of cogs, down to third gear. And then short shift to fourth to arrest the wheel spin. And Stenberg, he just went off the road. So he managed to get the grass there, and he just saw the dirt get kicked up. So very solid lap there from Pete Savage. Yeah,
that lap from Savage was he actually got a curb strike. Well, no, it's just late on the update. 52.183 that time around, and his teammate was the fastest man on track at that last lap, 51.866, and has had a little bit of a look, I think, just down there at turn 4 and got a bit distracted, and now he's lost about twice the margin that he had.
And that Snipes is going backwards. He's just gone down to 6th.
Who's passed him there? So that's Noel. So that's Rosella, and Foley's gone through. So Foley's actually nabbed Rosella in all of this as well. And now the Tim Redmond car is in the senior team. Now, what do you think the team orders are going to be here?
Please get out of the way, because I'm the senior team driver.
And Scott Stancliffe's...
I'm sure that communication is being put out right now, but Snipes reckons he can fight with Luke Rosella. And gee, his pace has been superb in the last qualifying session and in this race.
Yeah, I'm actually going to have a look at what his lap times have been since the restart, because he's holding his own and fighting on fairly and squarely at the moment.
His previous lap round was a 52.3, but this lap will be a 54 because he's just been passed by a couple of people.
Yeah, it was a 54.37. 3.37 was the last time around, but prior to that, 52.6s and 52.3s, you're right. So he's got the pace in him, and we've seen flashes of brilliance and really good drives in Super 2 last year and in Summer Series as well. So the pace is there. I actually think he's, we probably gives a bit more credit for what he does, and there goes Rosella bowling it right. So he's just going to lose a bunch of spots here, and is he going to come back onto the circuit, or is he going to go into the pit lane? No, he's gone down. Oh, and he's come back on the circuit. So he's actually lost a spot as well to Stancliffe and to, I think, Lime Mitch as well. Yes.
That's rough, Luke, because he worked so hard to try and get past them.
And there's a pass on here. There's a challenge on here for the race lead. So Devenish is fighting back, but he's on the wrong side of the road here. He couldn't hang it round the outside, but Stenny left in the space.
Drive's pretty good.
And
the driver in the straight line is pretty good from the number 15, and he's going to try and get up there. He's going to need to be decisive because he's going to be on the outside for turn 6.
You can just sort of see him just off to the left there, just behind the timing tree. We'll go to the high shot cam, the hamburger cam. This will give a better indication of how they're performing. You can hear the two cars going hammer and tongs at it around the final corner. A little bit of a mid-corner wiggle for Devenish, but he has found his groove now. This is important for his championship defence. He's in good position, and the margin that he found himself with in race 1 to Stenberg is not the same this time around, but he's got to bide his time.
He's going to go late move to the inside. Not quite close enough then. You saw last lap round at turn 4, Stenberg went defensive very, very early then. He knew he was coming.
Absolutely. He did. He held him high and wide, did the right thing, left in the room that he needed to leave him, and now he's just parking it straight in the middle of the circuit through turn 5 and doesn't think about the defensive line. Maybe just moves a foot or two off the traditional racing line, looks for the late apex and just cuts the nose off, so that's all fine. And very, very fairly defended now. Is this starting to bring Pete Savage back into this battle as well? I mean, life timing's just a little bit in arrears at the moment, but I'll be keen to see what sort of lap times that Savage is doing compared to these two, because visually it looks like he's starting to close.
Yeah, absolutely. When two cars battle ahead, it's a bit of an incentive for the car behind to think about just setting some clean laps, because when you're racing someone, it's all very... You're not on the ideal line, so it's all going pear-shaped, I guess, for the racing line. But it slows you down pretty much. So what I'm getting at is that when you're racing someone, you're slowing each other down.
There's actually quite a nice little angry battle pack happening, but here, 3 wide! And Virgo's in the fence, he's off the road. So that didn't surprise me one bit, that he's gone off the road down there. And there he is, and he's lost a ton of positions after all of that. So I was about to remark that was a really angry little pack there with Warwick, Brodie and Cam Rutledge, and this is worthy of a Smith & Sons replay. so we can get a bit of a look at just precisely what happened with Steve Burko here. You can see Justin Cecil was in this, so too Cam was behind as well. And last of the late breakers, Burko, and I think he realised he was going to make the corner and then just released the brake pedal and went straight on. So smart driving to avoid a major accident there.
I've always known Steve Burko to be a smart driver, and shows it there. Ooh.
That's
cheese.
That's cheese around,
spun round,
and he's had it.
Straight.
He did, and Burko went straight past him, and that's a bit of a bad spot to do it. He would have made a mistake probably coming out of the final corner, and probably the car gone sideways. And now
Tim Redmond has managed to get past Foley, and also Stancliffe is harassing the back of Foley right now as well. So
this will be as a result of
recent past.
This will be as a result of NZ Snipes going backwards. I think you'll find Hans as well. So as he's drifted back through the field from third place all the way down to what is now seventh, he's probably just upset the balance a little bit. And with Redmond now being able to get past Foley, Scott Stancliffe is now the next one in the queue to make that pass happen. Then you can see there one of the AAR cars, that's Lime Mitch, is just starting to get a bit close to NZ Snipes as well. And those two guys are familiar with each other from Super Tube, so that won't be an easy pass, I can guarantee you that.
Oh, it definitely won't make it easy, and there's all the incentive in the world for Lime Mitch to get past, and NZ Snipes doesn't want to let him pass, so it's going to be very interesting there.
This battle at the front still continuing to rage on as well, and the two gentlemen at the head of the queue are pretty much matching each other pound for pound, lap for lap, sector for sector at the minute. They are joined at the hip, and Pete Savage has just lost a little bit of momentum now, so it's 0.2 of a second slower on the last lap, and it's just not quite close enough. It was just worried him out of the position a little bit, but that's a little bit of gamesmanship is not too bad. Didn't unsettle car one, but Will has found another gear in this race. Race 1 didn't go according to plan. Race 2 tonight certainly is going according to plan. I'm thinking about what's the strategy call going to be here. Is he going to mirror Stenberg? Is he going to go a lap earlier or a lap later? I think it's when it gets to maybe lap 20 or 21, it's going to be the old box opposite call, and basically do the opposite of what Stenberg does. I think that's the only sort of opportunity he's going to have.
So Foley is ceded position to Scott Stancliffe.
Yep, he made a mistake. He ran off the road at turn 6, and now he's really in the crosshairs of NZ Snipes and Lime Mitch here. And Rosella. So now Rosella's had a bit of an issue here too, because he's had a couple of moments where we've seen him fall off the road and he hasn't been able to make that pass. Now, is that Lime Mitch sticking his nose down the inside there? Yep, it is.
Oh, there's a bit of rub between them as well. So, and Snipes maintains position over Lime Mitch.
Yep.
But they were bumping side to side.
Right, here we go.
Oh, here we
There's
go.
a
Move
pass.
for the lead.
Move for the lead. It happened at turn 6 while we were just watching that battle between Snipes and Mitch and Foley. And Devenish has gone through and got it done. And he's going to have to hold Stenberg just a bit wide here. And this is the compromise line now on the cutback. And this is good door handle to door handle racing between these two.
That's the way you do it.
That is the way you do it. That is fantastic by both of these two top-level drivers. Now what does Will do? He can't move it over in the braking zone now. He's got to stay to his line. And Stenberg just thinks about it and thinks, you know what?
A bit wide, but what's the run out like?
Better for Devenish. Better traction out of the high line for Devenish. He's just got an extra few metres, and that's all he probably needed, I think, just to consolidate that pass. But that pass took the better part of a half a lap to complete and consolidate.
Yeah, absolutely. Will had to work to the strength of the car. Kurt, I don't think he was particularly pleased about letting him pass, but eventually he had to.
Now this dictates...
You saw them bumping side to side. That was fantastic, wasn't it?
It was. It was very, very fair between the two of them. And what this does is it dictates the strategy calls now. Will has the ability to dictate when he wants to pit. Provided he doesn't make any errors, he'll be the one to say, you know what, I'm stopping at lap 21 and I don't care what you do behind. And it's now up to Stenberg to think about the strategy game. So the shoes have swapped feet here between the two competitors. What Will probably would have been thinking about 2 or 3 laps ago, Stenberg's now got to make that very hard call in the next couple of minutes.
Now, Stenberg, pretty good performance in this race so far, but I guess if he was able to avoid that safety car, I mean, if this race didn't have that safety car, he would have been running off into the distance, because that was clearly what he was going to do. but the safety car has played into the hands of Devenish here because the poor start hampered him. And watching a battle down in the field right now between Steve Warwick and Rhodey. They've raced against each other in a number of series actually, so well-known sparring partners.
It certainly is. And Rhodey's found some pace, and I think he's found a bit of confidence after his first place in the minis on Tuesday night. And this is probably one of the tracks that I think he was probably looking forward to and suits him well.
Oh, Steve Warwick off the road.
Yep, and he's going to drop a bunch of spots there as well, and I might take the pits, and he does. He decides the pit lane is, as I said before, the safe haven for him, and pulls the trigger, and that will now probably start to trigger the flurry of stops.
Yeah, good job by Rhodey so far. He's staying ahead of Steve Burko, and any day's a good day when you're able to stay ahead of Steve Burko and Brendan Ross.
And he's doing a fine job there as well. And Stenberg pulls the trigger. So Stenberg's now decided
Lap
pit
20.
lane at lap 20. So he's going to try and affect the undercut here, but he's going to have a slightly older tyre when he comes out after this stop is over. So now Steve Warwick in the lane, that won't be a big issue. And that also is, bad to say, there's a little exit there for Warwick as Stenberg comes in, but that's not too bad. Also Lime Mitch, All Australian Races in car 13, decides that lap 20 is the ideal lap for him. Now the next question is, where does Stenberg feed back into this traffic? Because this is critical for Will Devenish's race and what he does next.
Yeah, spot on, Steve. It is absolutely critical that Devenish gets a perfect pit stop here because Stenberg is going to be on warm tyres and tyre pressures will be up and he'll be able to attack.
So he's going again here. So this is the bit that Devenish feels confident with. Stenberg has come out in 15th place. Oh, and there's a... Is that Pete Savage? I just noticed something on back of shot. I'm just going to go back and have a look to see if something has happened to... Pete Savage, I think, has had a bit of a moment here. And this might be him out of this race. And just trying to figure out what's happened here. And he's gone back to the garage. I just saw a car that was sort of on the edge, and don't quite know what has happened. So there it is. Just a little bit sort of there. Oh, there it goes. That's AMS doing AMS things, ladies and gentlemen.
Probably a computer problem.
Yep, so I dare say it probably is.
There you go. Will Devenish, meanwhile, boxing on with Mitch McGovern.
Yep, now Mitch has gone a lap down to the race leader here, and Will's going long here, so I'm wondering whether he thinks these tyres can hold on for a bit longer, but I don't
think that's the right strategy.
No, and now he's getting into lap traffic, so he needed to be in that lap. And
Redmond is in, meanwhile.
Yeah, now this I think is playing back into Stenberg's favour here, Hans. Let's see if we can find him in the order.
Stenberg's down in 9th.
Okay, and what's his traffic situation like? He actually looks like he's got very clear air, so the next car's on him ahead on track. Turmo and Brendan Ross, they're also yet to stop. I think Will was in a bad position coming out of 6th then. He needed to be on the other side of the road to get that stop done. What's his pace like? 52.8 last time around compared to Stenberg's 51. So no, that was an outlap for Stenberg.
So Stenberg 51.97.
Yeah, Will's got to be in. Right, he is. Okay, so race leader's in.
Will's gone the wrong way here. He's gone 2 laps too long.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. And I think that this is going to see him feed into the traffic. Probably he's going to be second, no question about it. It's just going to be a matter of what the traffic situation is for him. Brenton Foley's done the same thing as Will Devenish and gone along in this stint as well. Now the important thing for Devenish here is the tyres will go on the car. He probably won't have to put as much fuel in compared to Stenberg. So whether or not he comes out, right behind him, car's on the deck in pit lane. We're watching now. He's actually going to come out with the race lead, I think, here, Hans.
I'm actually surprised.
I'm very surprised. So there he is, and there's Stenberg back corner of shot. So this has actually worked out. So the complete opposite has worked out for him. So very, very lucky that that's panned out the way that it has.
Oh,
so
I would say very lucky indeed, because that definitely was not planned. Because
no.
I'm dead set cannot be sure that was how he planned it, because he was just losing time and losing time and losing time.
And the older tyre usually loses out in a situation like that as well. So Stenberg with the newer tyre would have realised that by being right under Devenish's rear wing, he had to absolutely hammer home the advantage, and he had clear track. Maybe it was just a slightly slower stop. Maybe having to put more fuel in the car is what did the damage at the end of the day. I guess we'll never know until we ask them at the end of this race if they're on the podium, but we did say you can get 35 laps on a tank of juice, and I don't think Devenish had a huge amount that he had to put in there.
Yeah, spot on there, Steve. I think it's what looked like a strategic miscue turned out to be a strategic masterstroke, because they've come out pretty much as they were.
Stenberg's gone through to second place here, and P3 currently occupied by Termo, but he is yet to stop now. I've got a funny feeling he's probably gone the hard tyre here, just looking at the lap time drop off into the 53.4s.
Why not? Have a go to.
And I think it's something a little bit different in where he's going to feed back into this, but this will then put the Redmond and Foley battle as the battle on the final step of the rostrum when we get to the end of this race. Now, where are they at on track? They're behind Termo at the moment, probably about 400 metres or so, a bit further down the road. And is Termo in this lap? Yes. So that then puts car 43 back onto third place, and former champion will be eyeing off a podium finish here. And he had fourth place in the last race, and this is going swimmingly for him at the moment. Now Stancliffe and Rosella through the pit stop sequence as well. They're right behind this pair, and they're going to catch up. So there go Foley and Redmond. There's Stancliffe, and there's Rosella. And here's the pass. Here's the attempted pass by Foley. Long way around at turn 4. And you're not going to get that done unless you want to go the other way like this and go down the cutback.
Very good racecraft there.
Absolutely good racecraft. And what about the drive off the corner? Basically, they were mirror images of each other.
Yeah, I think Foley managed to get just slightly better drive off the corner, but now that he's on the wrong side for this curve straight, is he going to be... He's going to maintain ahead. Yeah, he's going to be ahead, and new fastest lap of the race, 51.6, almost 51.6 flat for Devenish.
And a very nice pass there by Brenton Foley. So he's just gotten a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better again as the night's gone on, and just starting to gel. And the one thing about Brenton Foley that he was not looking forward to this year was changing from the VF to the ZB Commodore. That was the thing that I think that annoyed him the most, is that they actually had to upgrade the VF to ZB specification, and he just thinks it looks ugly. That's his one MO. He just doesn't like the fact that I think it's not an Australian-built car.
Well, drivers, they've got all sorts of weird preferences with cars. I always choose the FGX Falcon in any series I race in for the point that I just like the way the cockpit looks. I like the view out of the car. It's much nicer than any of the other cars we've got in the models. Personally, I think the other ones, they all look a bit messy and there's all a little bit too much in the way. But no, the FGX is very good. But Brent Foley prefers the VF. Clean sheet design. Originally the VE Commodore in 2006 released. Holden's first clean sheet design in years.
Well, while that little battle's starting to unfold there, these two have found each other again. Rhodey and Steve Warwick. And I think, what's this, round 4 now? And Steve Warwick down the inside, pinches an inside brake, gets it done, kills the momentum of car 010, and gets the block pass on, as you said. And just ahead of these guys is Freakish in the Kelly Racing Rabble Club Nissan. So, and Termo's now right in this as well, having been up very briefly in P3. And I think the frustrating bit for Termo here is going to be behind Rhodey, but on top of that, the next frustrating bit is going to be he's about to be lapped by his teammate. Yeah.
So Will ask him, please get out of my way.
Yeah,
I'm sure Termo will oblige.
Yeah, and look at that.
Oh, look at the drive off the
Massive
corner.
drive.
Look at that.
What a fantastic little bit of strategy there. Rhodey be wondering what's gone by him at a vast rate of knots. I don't know if he actually knows that was Termo or not by now, but fantastic drive out of turn 4 by Termo.
Absolutely terminated, Rhodey.
Yeah, spot on. And Steve Warwick a bit further up the queue as well with a pinch brake. Blue flags now for this lot as the race leaders start to make their way through and catch up to the pack. And Will Devenish is going to be the first to wake them up here. And
Hopefully no repeats of race 1.
No, now this should be pretty good.
I've got my fingers crossed.
Now there's a car off the road. That was Justin Cecil. Rhodey gets out the way and Justin Cecil does the right thing. Lets Stenberg go by and he'll rejoin us from clear air. But this is going to be...
Rhodey stays well out of the way of Devenish there.
Freakish, good job as well. Just lets Rhodey go past as well. So that was an opportune pass for Rhodey as Freakish lets them all go through. Turmo does the right thing. I was about to say it's probably going to be a bit helter-skelter for Will Devenish, just having to, very, very gently tiptoe his way through the pack. And now he's basically scattered that pack up. This is starting to work to his advantage, I think, here as well. The margin that he's got over Stenberg just visually looks like it's a little bit bigger over the last sort of 60 seconds or so compared to what it was about 2 laps ago. And what is it now as we get across the line? We just lost our live timing very briefly from that. So sort of it's still at about the 2.1, 2.2 second mark. Now Devenish has cleared all the traffic. And Stenberg hasn't yet. He's only cleared the 1 car. Now he's cleared a second one.
All's pretty fair at the moment because Rhodey so far has got out of the way of both of them at the same part of the track as well. So quite fair for both of them, I think. Now Stenberg's coming up on Steve Warwick. Hopefully it's going to be like the situation in the pit lane. He's going to say move please. And I'm sure the message will go through. And he makes that pretty easy for him, so well done there.
Nice job.
Turmo's the next car in line.
And Turmo's
the only car in between, actually.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a rear gunner here now. You get a bit of a feedback on the margin. It's down to about 2 seconds. So a little bit better management through the traffic that time around. Devenish 52.3 versus Stenberg's 52.1. So he had a bit of a better... And there was a car.
Shot.
Yeah, he was, and he was off the road as well. But he's well out of the harm's way, so he's done a pretty good job there as the field continues to go around. Now, where's the next interesting battle we were looking at and seeing was what was going on with Foley and the first of the Kiwi SimSport cars at Redmond. Now, that is still the same way, but a
battle going on behind them.
Yeah, a bit further back. This battle had changed hands, so position 5 had gone to Scott Stancliffe. So that was a good pass that happened a couple of laps ago, unsighted, on a much experienced campaigner, and that won't go down well with the driver of car 55 very well, I'd imagine. And he's trying to squeeze it down the inside there. Now thinks about the switch back across the other side of the track, but there's no room there.
Very defensive from Stancliffe there.
Yeah, he was almost all the other side of the circuit there, and he's going to have his hands full for the next 10 laps. It's not going to be easy. He's got a real hard task to keep that Mustang behind.
I can see the expletives just jumping out of the cockpit of car number 55 right now because he wants to get past like anything.
Yeah, to quote Luke Rosella himself, I'm blowing up. That's what it's going to be in that thing.
He loves a good blow up.
He does. Yeah, Lord Blow Up, I think he's been affectionately nicknamed. He's been nicknamed a whole bunch of other things recently. I don't know what this 36 million pixel man is. Someone told me, but I haven't quite cottoned on to the whole story yet. Apparently tried to render something and didn't do it properly. That's about as far as my knowledge goes.
Do you want me to tell you the story? It's actually pretty funny. I'm going to put him on the spot and embarrass him right now. But he tried to change the... he tried to stretch the template to, I think it was 2048 pixels, right, which is the standardized size. You know, you got 1024, 2048, 4096, that sort of thing. Now, he forgot to change it from inches in Photoshop to pixels. So, what's 2048 inches in pixels? It's about 36 million. It took 10 minutes to load. It took 10 minutes to actually render the bloody thing. And so that's why Luke Rosella is known as 36 million pixel man, or whatever his name is in the Discord now. But pretty funny. But I wouldn't want to be his computer. I wouldn't want to use graphics card or his CPU or anything else.
No, I wouldn't want to be right now.
It's like whenever I tell something to Luke Rosella himself, all the plastic cogs in his brain just melt. So pretty funny that. But right now, I'm sure the plastic cogs in his brain are melting. Just trying to think of how to get past this Kiwi SimSports car.
And the same thing's going to be in Will Devenish's mind right now. The cogs are going to be turning because he needs to get past Nathan Higgins pretty quick. Stenberg's now just started to turn the screws a little bit. This margin is starting to evaporate. It's now down to just on a second. It's halved in the last 2 laps. So Stenberg is just starting to, as you say, just squeeze the lemon just a little bit here. Just starting to wring the neck and ask a little bit more out of car number 1. and Will has not had the best of run behind Nathan Higginson for about 3/4 of a lap. Brendan Ross is the next man that he needs to get past, and then there's a little bit of a gap to Lewis Wedding, who's in 11th, and then Steve Burko's 10th and just ahead of Wedding on the road. So Brendan Ross has just had they've all had a bit of a slide moment coming out of turn 3. So that's there wouldn't be any oil or anything down there. That's just pure and simple putting the loud pedal down as hard as you dare and for as long as you dare.
Yeah, I didn't see the red and yellow debris and oil flag out there, so no problems. Race surface is fine. Press on, boys.
It is, and Devenish goes through, and Stenberg trying to get a sneaky toe off of Brendan Ross there. That's not going to happen anytime soon. And the battle for third place is still alive and well between Brenton Foley and Tim Redmond. And this, as I said before, is probably going to be one of those ones that goes right down to the line and to the wire. And same with the one behind, with Rosella pursuing Scott Stancliffe.
So we've got first and second in the battle, third and fourth in a battle, and fifth and sixth in a battle. So which one is going to be resolved in whose favour? Who's got any idea? I've got none at the moment.
No, I don't have any either, and I was just looking to see if it was 7th and 8th in a battle too. I mean, they're pretty close on track with Lime Mitch and NZ Snipes, so that one might become a battle, and I guess we could then call it Noah's Ark, because the animals are all 2 by 2.
2 by 2 by 2. And in 3 of those battles, there's a Kiwi Sim Sports car somewhere along the line.
There is. There's a Kiwi fighting in 3 out of those 4 battles right now.
Oh, look at Stancliffe. Look at Redmond. He's absolutely trying to throw everything in the kitchen sink at Foley. He's trying some very unconventional lines through there.
Yeah, and he's just trying to...
the winged Kiwi on the bonnet as well. Very good.
Yeah, the winged Kiwi on the bonnet. And if you actually get a good side-on shot of this car, which I'm...
Oh, Foley's made a mistake. He's bowled it. So is he going to come up the position to Redmond?
No.
Is it going to be 2 podiums for Edmund?
He's going to hold on just for the minute here. And I was about to just remark, if you get a good look at the fern, the silver fern on the sides of both the Kiwi Sim Sports cars, you can actually just notice it's actually not quite a silver fern. It's a silver fern made up of little army soldiers. So a very, very talented group of artists that put that little one together. It's actually a very, very touching tribute. And we're coming up to Anzac Day in a couple of weeks' time, so it's a very, very good little thing to have.
Oh, he's given Foley a nudge as well. The Anzac rivalry is alive as well.
Certainly is. I actually just got to remember if we're racing on Anzac Day. I haven't had a chance to actually go back and have a look in the calendar just to see what is happening around that time.
Gap between first and second has halved again. It is now half a second with only just, I think, 4 laps to go. So 4 laps by, and then we will be on for a pretty ripper finish here, barring some sort of safety car.
Yeah, and
green light checker.
And we're going to have to keep an eye on all these battles going on as well, because look what's happening at front of this queue. Stenberger's closed up appreciably. So he has got the eyes on here.
He's got the eyes on. He is dead set. He is dead set ready to pass that 50.
Yeah, he certainly is. And then a bit behind them, a bit further down, you can see in the bottom of shot there, here comes the other car, the Tim Redmond
the
car.
Outside. He's going to do it.
Going the high line, and Foley's going to have to defend. There's the
How about
cutback.
the drive? Here we go. Can he get down the inside? He needs to be on the outside of the curve straight here so he can get down the inside of turn 6.
No, not quite. So he hasn't been able to pull that one off. So we're going to keep an eye out to see how that all unfolds as well once all this happens. So 3 laps to run. Race leader.
He's going to have a dive. He's going to have and Brody's off the road. So is that a local yellow flag?
Yes, it is. That's a local yellow flag.
But he's just made the pass at the critical moment. So will he have to give up that position?
Well, that'll be looked at pretty closely, I'd imagine, because when we cut to that shot there, the yellow flag was not out, and then it came out as the pass was sort of being done, like as it was almost being completed. So that one could go either way there, but either way it's going to fight down to it.
Between NZ Snipes and Luke Rosella as well.
Oh, that's Rosella and actually.
Oh no, it's
back there.
is it?
No, Stancliffe has been passed by Rosella, so.
So that must be a lap car then.
Yeah, so it is. Stancliffe's made a mistake, so he's just dropped a bit further down the order behind this.
Anyway, 2 laps to go. 2 laps to go this time by for Will Devenish. And it is half a second, the gap between Devenish and Stenberg.
And here's this pass again, so Redmond on Foley again as they continue to squabble over this last step on the rostrum. It's going to continue to keep going, but the race leader in Will Devenish has just got a little bit of margin here again. Just turned in a good lap when he needed to. Was 0.2 of a second quicker than Stenberg, and Burko, who is the last man inside the 10, is just getting out of the way here. Now that critically for Will Devenish gives him a good lot of clear track. The next man up the road is about 6 or 7 seconds away in Urjit Mishra, so there'll be no lap traffic between here and the flag, with the white flag out this time around.
Can Will Devenish hold on for his second race victory of the season? Win in race 1 at Adelaide, second place in race 2. It all went wrong in the first race tonight.
Oh, and Stenberg just got the fence there as well.
Can Will Devenish snatch this race win from Kurt Stenberg at the critical moment?
Meanwhile, a bit going on back here as well, because there's been a bit of...
Redmond's coughed up the position to Foley, but
and
Foley's going to cough it up again.
Yeah, Foley's coughed it up as well, and there he goes. Now, I know what happened there. They were caught up behind Higginson. I just saw a bit of flashing of the lights, and Higginson was a bit of lap traffic in the sandwich there, and Foley gave Redmond a nudge, and then I think Foley's just sort of gone off the road in sympathy at turn 1 and given Redmond another podium at this stage. But top step of the podium going to be car 15 in Will Devenish with second race win of the season ahead of Kurt Stenberg. So I was remarking that he might actually not be on top of the point standings after this one was over and done with, but he's done a lot of service there. Oh, and just go back to that for a second, if you could, Hans, for Kurt Stenberg. Yeah, I'm just
being a little bit silly.
I'm actually just wondering, did he get a nudge or something there? Because that's okay.
How
So
good's this? Tim Redmond, 2 podiums tonight. Very well done.
yeah, he's done a very good job there. I'm sort of a bit concerned about having Stenberg, because I wasn't sure if he got a nudge or something there. Just looking to see what's happening there. He's in a bit of an awkward position, and everyone sort of slows down. Now, designated burnout zone is not until after turn 3, so I don't know if he's had a moment or something there, and all the other drivers are just sort of starting to check up and go through and see how it all sits. But Bretton Foley, geez, didn't him and Tim Redmond go to war over that last spot on the podium?
But towards the end of the race, it was like the third place that nobody wanted, because everything was going wrong. We had Brody go off at the second to last corner, and then as Redmond was making the pass, had to give back the position, then pass Foley again. Foley makes a dive. Redmond had a bit of trouble behind Higginson, the lap car, and then Foley got back up there, and then all of a sudden Foley makes a mistake, coughs up the position back to Redmond, and it was resolved advantage Redmond there. Second podium of the night, second podium in his Supercars, ASR Supercars career, so very, very well done.
And this is probably the track that I expected him to do well at, considering that he holds the Super 2 track record in the ASR record books for from last year. So he's done that there, and Luke Rosella was the last man inside the top 5, so he eventually got the better of Scott Stancliffe after that one, so that's gone in his favour. Top 10 rounded out by Stancliffe, Lime Mitch, NZ Snipes. Another top 10 for NZ Snipes, and I still think he's going to be happy with his night's performance despite falling back through the order after qualifying 4th. Urjit Mishra, good return for Urjit Mishra, and that's a first top 10 for him for the year. And Steve Burko in position 10, last man inside the 10, and he was actually the first man a lap down. So sadly, despite the fact that we had a safety car intervention in that one, very early in that one, over half the field went a lap down.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys were struggling with pace in this race more so than the last. So yeah, not ideal for Burko to be a lap down, but he'll take that 10th position, and he's done a very solid job as well. So I think Loose Simsport, both Burko and Lewis Wedding, they need to do a bit of soul searching there, because it's been quite a reversal of form compared to Loose Simsport's last season, where they were doing a very fantastic job.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I think that is a little bit of a soul searching going to be going on down there in that garage after this one. Well, we've got our drivers here again, and let's go through the order. I think let's do it the same way we did it in race 1. So let's start with position number 3, and we welcome Tim Redmond back to the rostrum for the second time tonight. Tim, you keep your nose clean for most of the race, but geez, you and Brenton Foley went to war over that last podium position, didn't you? Yep, top 3 again, and 3 cars inside the top 10 as well. Your teammate Scott Stancliffe had a pretty reasonable run in that one. He also went to war with Luke Rosella for a good period of time. And Hans and my jaws hit the floor when NZ Snipes produced that 4th place qualifying lap out of nowhere. So I bet you he was probably bouncing off the walls in your pit box as well. Yeah, good effort from all the Kiwi drivers, and you're all inside the top 10 on both occasions tonight. So a good outing for the team all round. Well done to yourself. Well done to all the Kiwis. You're starting to get the hang of these supercars.
So I'm very proud of them. They're doing a fantastic job. So yeah, carry on. Thanks, Nether.
A couple of problems with the audio there, I think, as well. Sorry to the guys in the live stream. Looks like a little bit of that may have got missed, but yeah, the guys were pinging off the walls by the sound of it. Very, very happy with what's going on. I think there's been a couple of comedies of errors tonight. There's been you with the microphone, and now there's been me with the audio. We have it blocked, so the
we're still learning.
We're still learning this brand new setup that I've somehow managed to string together on whatever money I can spare when I'm not spending it on my kids.
Every time I come here, there's a new upgrade, and I've got absolutely no idea what I'm doing. It's like a kid in a candy shop right now.
It is.
All right. Stenberg, 2nd place. Very well done on the start tonight, Kurt, and also another pole position for car number 1. But I think the safety car really worked against you because it really opened you up to Will, didn't it?
Yeah, I'd just say that broke the momentum, and then we didn't drive very well in that part of the race. But we drove very well after the pit stop, but we then ran out of tyres. But that's racing, as you would say.
So, Kurt, I noticed that you were able to half that gap, especially in the later part of the race. It was, from 2 seconds to 1 second, then 1 second to half a second, and it pretty much hovered around there for the rest of the race. Was that more of the thing where, the safety car obviously broke up your rhythm, but then after the pit stop, you were able to get back on that rhythm and you just set absolute heaters until you're able to catch Will?
Yeah, that's what I did, but I knew pitting it before him I wasn't going to have the tyres, so it was trying to get close enough to him and try and force a mistake, and it didn't happen, so we then didn't have the tyres for the last couple of laps to actually make an attack on him, and we just had to try and stay as close as possible, so bit disappointing. We probably put a bit too much fuel in the stop as well. It's a bit disappointing, but yeah, that's really the only negative is the few laps after the safety car tonight. So we'll learn from that.
And you've just preempted my question about potentially adding fuel in the stop as well. So we did notice that Will actually got out a fair bit ahead of you, and we were thinking that he actually made the wrong strategic choice, but it was actually a mistake on your part that was able to let him through, wasn't it?
Well, I thought that I'd put in about the right amount, but obviously the last race with a safety car, I was unsure how much I'd need for green, and we had a safety car in that one, so you probably could have taken less fuel. Probably didn't think about all the variables that are required, and it costs you a lot with how the fuel flow rate is, so just need to think about that more next time. That's really the crux of it.
Well, Kurt, it's not all doom and gloom for you, mate. You did get a solid points haul out of this, 2 pole positions and a race win, and now you're getting surely back up into the top 10 in the standings, so very well done.
No worries, thanks guys. We'll see you at the next one.
We certainly will. Turn our attention to race one winner from Adelaide, race 4 winner of the championship for tonight in Will Devenish. Will, race 1 tonight definitely did not go according to plan. Race 2 tonight did. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, race 1, we had a bit of a run-in with Rhodey. We've both had a chat about it. And then, for whatever reason, got a drive-through. I think I entered the pits at the wrong angle, and it just triggered the drive-through. And yeah, best we could do is 10th. But yeah, that was yesterday's race, and today's race we were able to put it together and get the win happening. So yeah, bit surprised actually. Went into the round not really confident, and seeing how competitive the times were, we knew it was going to always be tight up front.
Well, tied up the front, I guess, is probably an understatement. For a lot of the night, it's been a tight battle throughout the field, and we sort of didn't expect when the pit stop strategy was shaking out that you were going to certainly end up in front. We thought it was going to be the other way around. Turned out that we now understand the logic and the reasoning behind why that happened. But the gap that you had after you came out of the pits didn't sort of stay that way for too long, and toward the end of the race, Kurt was right on your hammer, and there was a couple of little moments there where it could have gone either way in the later stages.
Yeah, admittedly, I was actually meant to come in a lap earlier. I was stuck, oh, not stuck, but I was behind Lime Mitch, and quite frankly, it was distracting me, and I forgot to come into the pits. So I went around another time, and I saw that my delta was over half a second down. So yeah, I thought straight away, yeah, I've made the wrong decision. Kurt's gonna leapfrog me in the pits. But then I started thinking about it, and I knew it probably doesn't matter how good a driver you are. Getting more than 22 laps out of these tyres on this track is near on impossible. So I thought, well, even if he does come out in front, I can probably keep pushing him on tyres with me having younger tyres. And yeah, it just worked out that I was in front. And then, yeah, it's looks like the tyres went away from Kurt in the last lap, and that was enough to secure the win.
Well, there you go. Second win of the campaign. It probably just does enough, I think, to keep you at the top of the point standings with your teammates' unfortunate non-finish out of that second race tonight. But I guess everybody will digest it all. We'll work out where everybody sits, and we'll see you in 3 weeks. Well done.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say thanks for the team tonight. Bit up and down, and sorry it's hard luck for Pete. It seems like he's having some sort of internet or PC issue that we'll try and get fixed before next race. But yeah, outside that, relatively good result for the team. Thank you.
No worries. Well, Hans, that is Symmons Plains done and dusted for another year. Next up on the calendar, the one and only Phillip Island.
Phillip Island, very exciting circuit, not that far down the road from us.
Yeah, 75 minutes away from here.
Yeah, and it's great in the game because when you're down there, it's either, honestly, when you are down at Phillip Island, it is a great race circuit, and it is a very good, any event there is fantastic. But the thing is, the weather down there, it's always raining sideways, really, really windy, cold, or it's really bloody hot. So, if anyone went down to the Phillip Island Classic, that was actually a really nice day. So it was the first nice day I've actually seen down at Phillip Island for quite a long time. So Phillip Island, great race circuit, very fast, very flowing, and keen to see some great racing down there as well. We did see some great racing last year when we were joined by a special visitor in the commentary box for the qualifying session, and then we also saw some pretty entertaining racing as well. And they were playing for keeps, weren't they?
They were, and I think next time out, I think that person that you mentioned that joined us for some special comments is actually going to be racing. I'd rather see him racing than in the commentary box.
You and I both, mate. You and I.
Well, let me put it this way. There's only 2 seats in this commentary box, and he's in Adelaide, so there's no room at the inn, sir. So. No,
absolutely spot on there. But it would be good to see him out there, and it's a fast-flowing circuit, and when things do go wrong, they go wrong pretty well because that the walls are so hard. They're earth bank walls, and also there's just plenty of places to crash your car there. Yeah. So honestly, you got to be able to. If things do go wrong, you got to be able to keep it on the track. Otherwise, it's going to be a very long day at the office.
Yep, and those walls you mentioned are basically race car breakers. They'll break engines, they'll break suspension, they'll break anything. You hit them at any sort of angle and you are gone. So that says enough, I guess, about Phillip Island, and that's what we've got to look forward to in a couple of weeks' time. Now, for those of you who are avid viewers of this channel, please tune in next Saturday night on this channel at 8 o'clock. We're going to have the very first round of the first time we're having an all-year-long GT3 series, so 10 races across, or 10 rounds across the entire year, and moving from what was the Tuesday night time slot onto Saturday nights. First round up is one of the places where we've had a bit of drama in the past. We're going to do a couple of sprint rounds, or races rather, around Albert Park, and we'll have a little bit of a look on Saturday night at the history that circuit has brought us over the course of time. But thanks to Hans Brunswick. Thank you to all of you watching at home. Please drive safely, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.